Hey, what's up, guys? Zach from Savants. We got another episode here for you today. This one's actually really cool. It's a very special episode. It's actually the first episode with a guest. That's right. We have a good friend of mine, Whalen. He's going to be joining us on this episode. A good friend of mine that I met actually working at Gatorland. He doesn't work there anymore. He's since moved on to do other things and pursue other endeavors. He actually just recently acquired all of his pilot credentials, and he's going to be moving to Africa in a week. He once lived there before for a short period of time, so he has an idea of what it's like, but he's hoping to make a career as a bush pilot out there this time, so we figured we'd bring him on and just see what that's like, flying planes in general, and what it's like to live in Africa. He's got a lot of cool stories, close encounters with lions, and even stories from the people he stayed with that he told us today. That was really, really cool. So I'm really excited for you guys to see this. We touch on other things as well. We talk about a lot of conservation in this episode also. We both worked at Gatorland, so naturally the love for animals is there. But we kind of get into the nitty-gritty with conservation. It's not so black and white as one might think, which even I myself was ignorant to. So I learned a lot today just talking to him, and I've known him for, about a year or so, and I feel like I learned so much from this simple conversation. So hope you guys enjoy, and thanks for tuning in and subscribe to Somewhat Savants. Thank you, guys. Enjoy. What do I think about things, or what do I actually feel about these things? And truly ask yourself, and that's where, and I think for me in those moments is when I'm listening to music, or when it's quiet, or whatever, so I totally get you. By the way, Steven, do you still indulge in this or no?
I do. Unfortunately, I even have a pack of cigarettes in my pocket.
Do you really?
Hey, man.
Are they American Spirits?
No, they're not. I've gone away from the American Spirits. I've officially bitched out and I'm on Camel Crushes.
Oh!
Camel Crush!
Do you crush?
I crush. I crush before I light, bro.
That's funny. All right, well, you're free to hit this if you want, just so you know.
Thank you.
It's virgin tobacco. It's disgusting.
It's not virgin tobacco,
Virginia,
it's Virginia.
Virginia tobacco. Whatever. It's the same thing.
Good Lord.
That's funny. So you drove over here. So when do you leave?
September 17th.
September 17th.
One-way plane ticket has been purchased. 23-hour travel day to get to Johannesburg, South Africa.
South Africa.
And yeah, so coming up soon.
Can you just say what you're going to be doing, just real quick, like what this move is for?
Well, I wish I knew what I was going to be doing. That'd really take a lot of the stress.
Well, I guess what you're aiming to do,
what my
right.
goal is to do. Yeah, so in the past year and a half, I got all of my pilot's certificates. So I started with my private pilot while I was working over at Gatorland. I ended up getting that. It was just taking so long because I was only able to fly 2 days a week on my weekend.
I remember that.
And Gatorland pay was shit, and I had to pay for my flight training. So after getting my private pilot's license and finally getting that done, I was like, you know what? This isn't the pace I want to go at. I don't want to be at Gatorland this much longer. Like, I have to figure out something new.
Right.
So I moved to Tampa, worked with my brother selling outdoor kitchens. Gonna plug him. If you're in the Tampa Carrollwood area, go check out Paradise Grills for your pre-built outdoor kitchen. No contractor required.
Nice.
No, but it was a good product, and I'm
it
a
seemed
people
like
person.
It worked for you too.
I was good at sales. It was 100% based on commission, but I was working 3 days a week, and most of the time only working half the day because the other half the showroom was empty, and I was screwing around on YouTube. And I made probably 3 times as much money as I did at Gatorland. And so the fact that I was only working 3 days a week too, I was able to really pursue all my flying stuff. Crushed it, got it all done. Kind of put my feet to the fire by only signing a 7-month lease. So I'm like, if I'm not done with 7 months,
then I guess we're going to figure some shit out. Right.
So I did all that, and I want to go back to South Africa. So I was there about over 2 years ago now, and I got my field guide certificate so I can legally guide in South Africa. Now, getting a working visa and all that, those are going to be the big issues. But I really want to go back down there, work in conservation, work on flying, getting some of my hours in, because that's really what getting any job depends on in aviation. It's just your record with safety and how many hours you've flown. And that's the way that they kind of do it. So I want to go down there. A couple of people that I've connected with, they do conservation flying, so they help support anti-poaching by just flying low and slow, surveying like rhino counts, looking out for poachers.
Nice.
If something does happen,
Nice.
they're in the air looking for them as well, just giving support to the ground units. So that would be like best case scenario what I would want to do, or something incorporating flying and guiding as well, because some of these really expensive lodges, they have their own airstrips. Some of them even have their own private airplanes. So I could be your all around Crocodile Dundee, fly you into the African bush and then guide you around.
Dude, you're going to be like the Matt Wright of Africa. So now obviously you were there 2 years ago, so you have people that live there that you know now. Are they ready to receive you? Like, do a lot of them know you're coming back?
Yeah, so I just put out a life update post on Facebook.
Right, I saw that. Mm-hmm.
And that is Facebook, although I rarely use it, that's where I'm most connected with my friends, like internationally. That's where I can get some interactions. Like Instagram's great because you just double tap and you give a heart, you know. And but I could post something on Facebook, go into details, ask for like pretty much ask for help. It's like, hey, anybody who knows anybody who's looking for something like this,
right?
Give me a
Spread
shout.
the word, please.
So, yeah, no, I'm just gonna have to play it by ear. And I've jumped in the fray in the past, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm going down there. I get 3 months of a tourist visa. In that time, I'll hopefully be visiting some of my friends, but the main goal is kind of trying to look for a job. Might not end up in South Africa. I might have to go to some of the countries around it, like Botswana, Mozambique, Namibia, or something like that. Just
nice.
If there are better opportunities there, it's like that's where I see myself going. But I mean, we'll just have to see. Nobody knows what the future holds. I don't have much flying experience or guiding experience, but I'm really good at interviews.
Very good.
I've got a good track record so far with the interview to job offer ratio. So if I can just keep that going, get my foot in the door, just have somebody talk to me, then I feel better about my chances.
And I feel like you're going to be just fine because you're one person I know. That's what I was telling him. I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, Steven will do, like, if he wants something, he's going to go for it, like, full-fledged. Like, he made the changes to go and completely enroll into this school and just get it done. He was talking about it pretty much since day one, since you started working there, how you wanted to go back at some point. And I remember when you were first talking about it, you didn't know when it was going to happen, but obviously the thoughts never left. And it manifested slowly over like the year and a half, and finally you got serious about it. And so you enrolled and did all this stuff, but what I wanted to ask you was when you were actually learning how to fly, like all the courses you basically just finished up, the certificates and everything, how difficult was that for you? Like, what did you, was it challenging at all, or did it come easily? Like, how was that? And did you feel like I wasn't going to be able to finish this? Like, maybe this isn't for me? Did you have any doubts in the process of going forward with this endeavor once you decided to make the jump and start going?
Well, the secret to flying, and I don't know if I should say this on a public podcast because it is an industry secret.
Oh,
flying's not very hard. once you know how to do it, it's like driving a car. Now there's increased pressure because if something goes wrong, you can't pull over to the side of the road. Like you've got to put it down.
There's no
somewhere.
hazards. Like, hold on a second.
And there's definitely more to it, and the regulations are obviously a lot harder. You know, it seems like anybody can get a driver's license. Just look at the Florida roads. Anybody can get a driver's license. And that's I feel like driving is so much more dangerous because everybody you know that is flying through the air has gone through all these FAA regulations, has had all these minimum hours of training and this and that. And you are normally like 2 miles away from anybody at a given time, unless you're flying around an airport.
Right.
Whereas you don't ever really do formation flights unless you want to with some friends, but that's some dangerous stuff. Whereas you're driving on I-4, you're doing formation driving
with
the
a population of Orlando.
With about 4 feet between you guys going 80 miles an hour.
And everyone has their own agenda.
Everybody has their own agenda, and nobody's communicating, talking on the radio like we do in the planes.
Right.
Like if you're flying in formation, you're constantly talking to each other, making sure like your airspeed's good, we're at this altitude, we're holding this heading. And when you're driving it, it's like that scene from Family Guy. The Asian lady is 4 lanes over to the left. It's like, oh, that's my exit. Good luck, everybody.
Exactly. Okay, that's interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, you have to be prepared. If you are dedicated enough to just get prepared and you work out everything ahead of time before the flight so nothing surprises you during it, you check out all the weather, you make sure your plane's in good condition all the time. It's kind of like gator wrestling. If you don't get complacent and you just do everything right every time, you're going to end up fine. And with the training, it's just being prepared. Like, do your freaking reading. Just like it is in school. Like, you get assigned reading, and I was able to manage through school with Cliff Notes and getting by. Had I read it, I would have been so much more prepared. But I made it through. Couldn't do that with flying because everything is so technical and precise. That I would actually read everything ahead of time going into it, write down any questions I had, go through the lesson, ask any of my questions, and I feel like I grasp it.
Nice.
So, I mean, it wasn't too bad. But with Florida weather, you kind of don't know when you're going to be able to fly and when you're not going to. So that was the only concern that I had. It's like I could just get a string of bad luck where every flight that I schedule just gets canceled because it's Florida afternoon thunderstorm.
Did you have a lot of cancellations or no?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
A lot of cancellations, but I had a lot of flights. So I was like, I could have got it done earlier if everything went right, but it also could have taken a lot longer if things were a little bit worse. So,
what was your main method of learning it?
So, I mean, there's so many books. There's FAA like issued books, which have all the information that's going to be on the test and you're going to need to know. So do all that. Then there's also some theory books as well. So anybody who's looking to get into aviation, read Stick and Rudder by Wolfgang, I don't know, some German name, Langerstein or something.
I don't know if I trust him. He'll teach you how to take off, not how to land.
Google Stick and Rudder book. You'll find it. But like that, I've actually read that book 2 times in a row. Not 2 times in a row, but 2 times total now. And it's like each time I'm like, oh, that's just such a good way to think about things that simplifies it. So doing that, and then also all the instruction, it's not like a classroom setting. It's one-on-one. So coming in prepared with your questions and asking all your questions on the ground because the plane is a terrible classroom because everything's loud, your stress levels are high, you're focusing on every other thing. It's like that's not the right time to be asking, what should my airspeed be when I'm trying to make this turn? Like that, you should know that going into it.
Right, exactly. It's like, what the hell do you mean? We're about to make this turn. Yeah.
So just being prepared and not being afraid to ask questions, which, I mean, I'm not shy, so I'm asking questions. And then finding a good school, too. Like, that's part of the reason why I went to Tampa. I don't want to say names of my first flight school, but it was okay. But going to my new one, I felt the difference and the expertise of the instructors and how much they cared about me as well. Where, like, I told them my goals, and they're like, oh, that's great.
Cool.
We'll focus on this and that then during this.
They kind of like tailored it to you almost.
Right. I mean, as much as they could.
As much as they could without deviating from what they needed to teach.
Yeah, and there's different methods of getting your certificate as well. So there's a Part 61, which is basically like you can take as much time as you want, go over the lessons however you want to do it, just get it done. As long as you have this amount of hours, you can take the test and be fine. But then Part 141, it's an FAA-approved syllabus. So they have to have the syllabus all written out. You have to stick to that syllabus. But in return to that, if you can manage it, you don't need as many hours to qualify to take the check ride. Okay. So that's what I did because, I mean, I was always pretty good at school. And I really picked it up pretty fast. Like, I don't want to, like, blow myself out of proportion, but all of my flight instructors have had, like, 4 now. I've been like, you're naturally good at flying. Some people would take a lot longer just to grasp this. You're grasping it right away. So I was able to move through that syllabus fast and save myself time and money.
Nice.
Because it's not cheap.
So now that what you've completed, what can you fly right now? What type of aircraft in totality?
So there's a difference between what I can fly and what I should fly.
Okay.
And what I should fly is anything that I've had, any plane that I've had experience with in the past.
Okay.
So that means Cessna's 172s, I'd be 100% comfortable in. Mostly high-wing airplanes, like the Cessnas, have been what I've been flying, single engine. But I did get my multi-engine rating it's called a Seneca. It's a little twin engine
Yeah,
airplane.
I think that's what I jumped out of when I went skydiving.
Yeah, it's probably something like that.
Yeah.
So
Small plane, but double engine.
Right. I can fly any plane that weighs less than 12,500 pounds that doesn't need a specific type rating. So it's not turbo. It's not a jet. I can't fly any jets because you need to have a special turbine endorsement to do that.
Right.
But any single engine airplane really that's small, I'm legally allowed to fly. But if I were to try out one of those, I'd probably get a flight instructor to go with me the first flight. Just be like, so I can study, know all the speeds and everything beforehand, have him go up, give me some tips about this and that. And if I feel comfortable and he feels comfortable, then I'm like, okay, I'll be good now.
Sweet.
I might not take you along on my first couple flights while I get used to it. But, dude, there's a learning curve.
First time, here we go.
Yeah. I mean, you want to... Did I tell you about the plane accident that I was in?
No, tell that story.
So this is recent. And again, I mean, anybody who does their research on me can find out where this happened, but I'm not going to say any names. Because it wasn't anybody's fault, really.
Right.
That's what I'm going to say. If anything, it was the plane's fault. So I'm flying in a little
Fucking
J3 Cub. Let me...
A Piper Cub?
Yeah, so
Nice.
Piper Cub J3 is like a 1943 plane. So it's old school.
Was it yellow?
Okay.
It's light blue and yellow.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a tailwheel airplane. So normally, airplanes today are tricycle geared. So you have two main landing gears, like at the base where the center of gravity is,
And then one in
close
the
to,
front.
and then one in the front.
Okay.
This one is like what the older, like if you think of World War I,
Right,
World
they're
War
like-
II
like
planes.
this.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
kind of sitting at a high angle. They have two main wheels in the front and then one all the way back on the tail there.
Right.
So I'm trying to get my endorsement to fly these tailwheel planes because that's a lot of what the conservation flying in Africa flies. I want to be able to have that under my belt when I go there. Just another good thing to have. And it's really fun.
Right.
So this was my second lesson in this tailwheel plane. And we go out, we do some landings on a grass strip. And my landings were just off. I kept swerving to the left. After like the first landing, everything, swerving to the right. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Am I coming in at an angle that's making me go to the right? But like a couple of them, it's like we just barely stayed on that grass runway before we, I don't know, dip into a gopher tortoise hole or something.
Right.
But I just figured I'm coming in at an angle, so that's why I'm going off at an angle. So I did
Now, are you by yourself in this plane right now?
No, I've got an instructor right behind me.
Okay.
So we've got me in the front, stick, instruments, and I mean the instruments is an airspeed indicator, manifold pressure gauge which tells you what the RPM is, and then a Casio watch that's taped to the dash because that's just reliable. And that's
Classy.
what we use.
Nice.
So my instructor was back there, and he's been cool. He really helped me out. We flew for like 3 hours the first day I went out and had a good time.
Damn,
because
nice.
it's open air because there's
Right.
no windows, no doors. It's really cool. But we decided we're gonna head back because it looks like we got some bad weather coming in. And as we do, we're coming up to the airport. We see the rain kind of come in right into the airport. So right as we make our second to last turn, as we would turn into land, we start getting some rain. And he tells me, he's like, hey, we can always go around if we have to, which means like, look, full power, fly off. We'll try again. If the rain's bad, we'll fly somewhere else, let it clear, and we'll come back. It should always be an option to go around. But the rain kind of cleared up as we were coming in on the final approach. And I was a little bit high, but I'm like, listen, I've got a ton of runway. My airspeed's good. I'm on a good descent right now. Everything's fine. So I put it down. Nice landing. Like, touched it down softly. But then all of a sudden, like I pushed a little bit of my right rudder in because right rudder's left rudder. That's kind of how you keep it oriented on the ground. And we shoot off to the right.
Oh, shit.
After just a tiny little bit of pressure. So to correct it, I'm pushing my left foot in as far as it'll go, like against the wall. And we're not going back to the left. We're heading off towards an embankment off the end of the runway there.
Oh, shit.
So he takes the controls, really quickly. I'm like,
Does he just like hop in the front? Like what?
no. So he has his controls behind me too.
Oh, he
so
does,
whereas
okay,
I have a
okay.
stick and rudder pedals, he also has his rudder pedals basically right by where my
I gotcha.
butt is. We're kind of
Right.
straddling. It's so small. But I quickly say, you have controls because I'm doing everything I can and I don't know what else to do. And to keep us from going down in that embankment, because we already have full left rudder, he puts a little bit of left brake to kind of scoot us back, which it did. But because we were going so fast, we used too much brake. So all that forward momentum kind of turned into upward momentum for the back of the plane. So it's going. It happened so fast until we started tipping over. And then it was like in slow motion. And you were like, no. Shit. As the propeller goes and shatters on the runway because it's a wooden propeller. So we're sitting there. The plane's like nose down in the middle of the runway. Planes are behind us. And we just kind of like, did that just happen kind of moment there.
Damn.
And after like we kind of realize what's going on, he's like, all right, shut the fuel off, turn everything off, turn the magnetos off. He's like, we have to get this thing up. There's fuel leaking out of the front. I'm like, oh, yep, So
Yep.
make a quick
Get the
radio call
fuck
saying
out.
we're stuck, we're okay. We get out of there and we push the thing back into its upright position. They closed the airport for like only like 30 minutes because
Not bad.
We picked up the scraps of wood from the propeller, got a golf cart, pulled it back into the hangar, and then we were just like, well, now what? Now it's because I was with an instructor and I wasn't endorsed on the tail wheel yet. I was not the pilot in command, so I don't have any sort of responsibility to it, really.
Right.
Now, it was a learning experience. I think having
Oh,
talked
yeah.
to the chief instructor and everything afterwards, like there were things that both myself and my instructor in the back could have done differently.
Right.
But luckily, they did a test flight just yesterday. So this happened like 2 weeks ago. And they did a
Really?
test flight yesterday, and she's backing up and running
The plane
again.
is?
Yeah.
Good.
So
Oh,
that
thank
was-
God.
I
that
was
a
just going to
relief, man.
ask, like, if it totaled the plane or if they were able to repair it.
Dude, I felt so bad for my instructor, though, because, I mean, he's the one that's responsible for it.
I know.
And I don't want to point the
Damn.
fingers, but he's the one that pushed the brakes, too.
Right,
which
right,
is
right.
What caused it to happen. And he was supposed to fly out to Wisconsin and fly for Wisconsin Air, like, in 2 weeks. And he was just considering, he's like, maybe I won't do any instructing because I've already got this lined up. I'll just, relax until then. And then this happens to him. But luckily, because nobody was seriously injured, it didn't fall into the requirements that the National Transportation Safety Board requires a report to.
Right.
So,
I was say because this is not like just like car accident. Like, I don't see any damage. Go home. This is like, woo, like
Yes.
things got to get filed and like.
luckily,
Right.
because of the severity, because nosing over on a tailwheel aircraft is unfortunately really common.
Yeah, it seems like
Especially-
it would be like not the most uncommon thing.
Especially on a training airplane.
Right.
It takes one little mistake that you never forget afterwards.
Right.
But to do it, but that's why they use the wooden propellers, because those are cheaper to replace anyway.
I was just gonna ask, wooden propeller. That's interesting. And also, I guess the school owned the plane.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
school owned the plane.
It wasn't like anyone's personal plane or anything.
No, so it was
That's
owned by the
good.
school. They also did the repairs in-house. They have a mechanic that's certified with the FAA and everything, and they were luckily the damage just wasn't that bad. They had to replace the propeller. I know there was a little almost like crack in the cowling up at the front near the propeller where we went down on. I don't know what the full extent was, but it's back up and running again, which is a good feeling because I thought I might have put that, what is
Retired that plane.
Yeah, almost 70-year-old plane out of
Damn.
business.
Yeah, that's a cool plane.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's old.
Is that mainly what you would be flying in the bush of Africa? Is planes like that?
Planes like that, just something that's light and can go slow, because that means that they can stay up the longest in the air. They can stay low.
Like borderline helicopter status.
Maintenance is cheaper. Yeah, I mean, you see videos of some of these airplanes
Well, you
that are
showed me the
modified.
ones with the big tires, and they literally go.
Dude, there'd be a sandbar that's like 20 feet long, and they'll land on the sandbar and then take off straight on the
literally
sandbar.
just as they start up, and it just
crazy.
goes up from where it's at. It's insane.
Yeah, they have competitions for all that stuff.
Yeah,
That's-
dude,
it's cool.
you should do one of those one day.
I'm not close. Maybe one day.
One day.
I'm competitive by nature.
Oh,
so
I know.
It might happen, but
That's so cool. Now, let's fast forward to like Africa. Well, not really Africa, but when you were there the first time,
yeah.
this is kind of like, I don't know, kind of thinking about the animals and stuff that you dealt with. Now, if you were to go and like help with, anti-poaching, like, do you know like any of the organizations that you would be involved with, like by name or anything right now? Or anyway, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I have some names of places that either I've found myself or that people have told me.
Right,
to.
like, okay, you don't have to say, but you know of places that have like things you can get involved with that would allow you to carry out these kind of missions per se.
If they would let me carry out the missions,
right?
And that's why I'm going, and that's why I'll be, selling myself that I can do these. It's like I have minimum hours, but. I'm professional and I'm safe and I'm passionate and all these sort of things.
I think the fact that you were there before is a good thing too. In Africa.
Yeah, I think it's and having experience in the bush and the wildlife. Like if I want to be in conservation, having that knowledge would be really valuable.
And plus, what you did in Orlando.
Yeah, wrestling alligators.
Yeah, I mean that obviously doesn't hurt either.
Well, I'm not going to wrestle a crocodile. That's for damn sure.
No,
Fuck.
God, no. God,
was
no.
it this last trip, the 2 years ago trip, that drew you to Africa? What is it about Africa? Because when I think Africa, I get freaked out. I get scared. Now, I'm not as wildlife centric as you two.
Yeah,
but I think of malaria, Ebola, all these things. And I know like malaria shots are no joke. Did you have to get that last time?
So I didn't do any malaria shots. I also didn't do any malaria medicine. So
that fucks you up.
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
heard.
So the area in South Africa that we were in the Limpopo region, which is like towards the east, kind of close to Mozambique. But it wasn't high in malaria cases.
Okay.
There are some parts in Africa where it's just malaria runs rampant and it's devastating. And anybody that goes in unprepared might end up with malaria. And a couple people that I knew, even on the course, they got malaria. They were in the hospital for a day and then in a hotel for 2 weeks afterwards with a killer fever as it was being treated. But as a pilot going back, I wouldn't even be able to take that malaria medicine because the way that it does fuck with you. And there's
Are
so
you
many.
fucking kidding me?
Yeah, dude, I can't even take allergy medicine if I'm going to be flying.
Yeah, because technically
it causes drowsiness.
They
Causes
don't
drowsiness,
play, man.
right?
There's a super long list created by the FAA of all these substances and over-the-counter drugs, prescription drugs that you can't take and you can't fly. And
like at all, or when you're flying.
It
like,
depends.
Okay.
It depends. So,
Okay.
like, there are some things that you can't do at all. There are some things that you really should talk to a doctor who is also an aeromedical examiner because they have knowledge on everything. So you can ask them, listen, I'm taking this. Is it safe for me to fly? And they'll either say no, or they'll say, as long as it's not within 24 hours, then you're fine.
Right.
But you just got to be careful. Man.
Now, do they have ways to find this out for pilots? Like, do they?
You got to take
Are
your
you
medical.
subject to random things to see if you're screwing around?
So they
Because
don't-
all I think about is Denzel doing coke in that movie Flight.
Yeah. So, I mean, the FAA themselves, they don't do random drug tests. If you're flying for an airline, they very well may
That
do
makes sense, yeah.
a random drug test
Right.
on you. But you only really get drug tested if something occurs.
Okay.
So if there's an incident or an accident or something like that,
But they're trying to rule
if they're
out
doing
things.
an investigation, even if it was not your fault at all, and the engine failed, and you had to do an emergency landing, and you ended up crashing the plane, it went up in flames, whatever. They're doing their investigation. The first thing they're going to do is do blood test on you. Probably take some hair off you, do a piss test on you.
Yeah, and when
and-
they get the hair, you're screwed.
Yeah. So I mean, that is, and that's serious.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that is serious.
they definitely
Rightly so,
can
though.
do that with the airlines. They probably have something scheduled, but if anything goes wrong, even if it's not your fault, you can be fully prepared and the best pilot in the world. But if you crash, and even if it wasn't your fault, you'd done coke 3 days ago, you're probably in big trouble.
Yeah.
Aren't
makes
certain
sense.
antidepressants on that list?
I'm sure there are. I'm sure
It
they
seems like that list is greater for flying as opposed to being able to get a fucking gun.
are. Oh yeah, I
And-
feel like that.
And we don't.
That's funny to
I
think.
don't
isn't it?
necessarily want to
Jesus.
even dive in. I'm more interested in what you're going, but that just popped in my head. Like, it seems more stringent to be able to fly a plane than to own a firearm. And what's more dangerous here?
Depends on how many people you're carrying, I guess.
Right, I guess.
Yeah.
All determined on the situation, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy.
Back to my original thing. What draws you to Africa?
Yeah, that's right. So I watched too much Steve Irwin growing up.
Hey, crikey.
Crikey, mate. That's for sure. So doing that, I've just always had a passion for wildlife. Growing up in Florida, I had the Wekiva Springs State Park, like literally right in my backyard.
Where'd you grow up?
Over in Apopka.
Okay.
Yeah, so literally I would hop the fence that says no trespassing and go into the state park, and like I just loved all that stuff. And I had done like a little tour in Europe where I was like hitchhiking, finding myself after high school. Like that was great. And I came back and I started working at T-Mobile and hated my life.
Oh God. The opposite of wildlife.
The opposite.
You see the wrong kind of
Dude.
wildlife in that store.
Yeah, right.
It was terrible. But anyways, I started feeling stagnant, which is something that like I'm sure we've talked about this before, Zach. Like when I feel like
tell me
I'm
about
not getting better, I'm not heading towards anything, I'm sitting still and not loving where I'm at.
That's what they say. If you're stagnating, you're dying.
Dude, it's not a good feeling. So I was just like looking for something. I'm like, what am I gonna do? I actually went on a Tinder date with this girl, and it was a decent date. She was nice enough. Didn't lead to anything, but we went out. We got sushi or something, and we were just, I don't know, talking about random shit you talk about on a first Tinder date.
Yeah, random shit.
And then somehow like Africa came up because I think she wanted to do like Doctors Without Borders in Africa, and like that'd be really cool. I'm like, but also it'd be really cool to just be like a safari guide. Like think about how be like Steve Irwin, be out there, do this and that. And I'm like, that would be cool. So I get home that night and I start Googling, and I'm like on WikiHow, how to become a safari guide.
How to be African safari guide.
But anyway,
Step 1, have passion for animals.
I think that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
You saw that article too. So it was literally something like that. But I ended up doing my research, and I found this organization called Bushwise. Had a lot of really good student testimonials. They help you out with your visa process. So you can get down there, hands-on training, housing, all this stuff in the bush. And I'm like, it's doable. It's like that's something that I could do. It's like, yeah, I have to give up some luxuries and pay my life away a little bit. I mean,
But hey, it's going to be something that you'll never forget.
no, for sure, and it's going to be on my resume forever too.
Yeah,
on something
buddy.
completely unrelated. It'll be like, yeah, I am coming to be a dentist assistant. It's like, what is your experience? I was a safari guide in Africa. And I wrestled alligators. They have lots of teeth.
Yeah, they do. You're cool as shit. You're hired. Hey, you know how to work these tools? We'll teach you.
Hell no, I don't.
That's so funny.
So, yeah, just a love for nature, a random Tinder date, and WikiHow. That's how I ended up.
Thank God for Tinder.
Dude, I love how simple that answer was, though. There was not like some, when I was, little, man, I saw it and I had this feel. It was like, no, this happened and it just bloop, clicked. And I was like, that's a good idea.
I mean, listen, I've gotten high while watching Planet Earth plenty of times. That definitely helps.
Oh, shit.
Look at the bonobos.
Oh, my
shit,
God.
the bonobos.
The bonobos. Stalking its prey.
That's my favorite pastime. Used to be. This is just so serendipitous because that you're our first guest, which we're very grateful.
Thank
Honored,
you.
by the
Thank
way.
you, by the way.
We're
I'm
grateful.
As soon as you said you were leaving, I was like, I gotta get him. He's first.
Well, he's like, yeah, I got this
I was
guy.
like,
He's
this
going to
will
be
be
a
the
fucking
catch-up.
African bush pilot. And I'm like, get him here now.
yeah, I was like, dude,
That's
I know a guy.
fascinating. But your attitude towards getting better, I mean, that's Zach and I's whole mission with this thing. We're kind of documenting ourselves getting out of a rut. Since I've gotten sober, I just feel like I've been in a rut. Drugs filled the hole for me, and now I took that hole away. Now I'm trying to fill it again. And the podcast, and that's what's doing it for me. And Zach fell into a rut with acting, kind of doing the same thing over and over, same type of plays. So it's just very cool to have you on. And your attitude, I mean, it's inspiring to me. I love it. I think it's fascinating And now, I don't know, I want to stop this and go get up and fucking do something.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just that's what it is. It's a mindset where you just want to better yourself. Why would I want to be stuck somewhere? It's like I can wake up early and be productive and make myself a little bit better. It's like, well, that's a lot better than not. It's like, what other option do I have? I can sit around and just feel shittier the next day. But no, I think that's a great goal to go towards, just self-betterment. And
Yeah, you were definitely, we were at the same workplace.
kind of a black hole.
Yeah.
A little bit so for some people.
For some people. And like, to each his own. I mean, if you're comfortable and you want to stay wherever you're at, then by all means, that's you do you. But, obviously, like what you surround yourself with is going to affect. But I always envied you because it didn't seem to affect you. Like, you know how they say, you're the sum of the people you spend the most time with?
Yeah.
Or like, whatever environment you're in is how you're going to act, kind of, sort of. I just felt like you were so good at saying no to things. You were so good at like being like, no, like I'm going to go do this. Like I struggle with it sometimes. And I would only be good at it when I was involved with a production. Like when I had to play and like, maybe someone was going afterward, I'd be like, I can't, but it's almost like I need like the structure of something going on to make me like, all right, whip into shape, Yeah. But like when I'm in between things is when I crumble. So that's why like all those times I did like play after play after play, like for a year straight, I had like 4 and that eats up almost a whole year. Cause
But
it's
you're
like,
on the straight and narrow, man.
Right. I'm on the straight and narrow. I'm like, dude, this is no joke. I'll go to the gym. I get shit done. I'm getting home at midnight and I'm getting up and going to work. But like when one falls off, like I had a break recently and like it's been tough. I'm quick to like go fuck off, and I'm quick to like do all this. But like you weren't so bad at that. And I really loved that quality about you when we were working together. Because I noticed, I picked up on it, Like, you'd be like, no, I'm going to go home. I'll save money. Like, I'm going to get up early or whatever, And, like, we still would go out. Don't get me wrong. Like, we would do stuff. But, like, you knew when to say no.
Well, the key there is like how you said that you always noticed that and kind of respected that. I didn't know that you noticed or respected it because I don't really care what people think.
Exactly. And that's what he would always tell me.
Things.
He wouldn't care what people think. And I loved it. Like, he was like, I don't care. Like, and I'm just like, damn. And that's what it is. You're worried about, and that's truthfully, like, the reason you say yes is like you worry about what they're going to think when you say no. And like, whatever. And you're like, but you want, because there's a book you should read. It's really short. It's quick, too. It's by Stephen Pressfield. It's called Turning Pro. And he talks about, like, the tribe and how everyone wants to be a part of the tribe. And then he had this funny ass quote. I love it. He goes, here's the truth. He goes, there is no fucking tribe. He goes, no one gives a shit. Everyone's so caught up and worried about themselves. No one really cares what you do. And the point he was making was just show up and do your work, whatever your life work is going to be, and just do it. Because he's a writer, and he was talking about showing up and, to the typewriter every morning, whether he's inspired or not. And he also said, like, don't wait for inspiration, find it, and things like that. And you did that. Yeah, you don't care what people think. And when he said that, I was like, that's the truth. And that's what I feel like helped fast track you out of there,
Yeah, I saw my window of stagnation just getting closer and closer.
But you acted on it.
Let's hop out of here real fast. Luckily, I started doing my pilot's license stuff while I was at Gatorland. Because at the start of Gatorland, I was kind of at the start of Gatorland, it was still exciting, and I was learning how to wrestle alligators, and that was cool. So I was learning something.
Exactly.
But then after that, and when I wasn't doing anything, and I was like, well, here we go again. Mm-hmm. Let's jump on something. So then I started flying, and then realized that I wasn't doing enough flying, so I just went more to it. But yeah, I mean, my dad he's a really good role model for me. And one thing that he said that kind of annoyed me when I was younger, but it's kind of really stuck with me later. He would say, effort and attitude. Yeah. Effort and attitude are the only two things you can control. So those are the only two things you should worry about. He's like, so whatever other people are doing, saying, whatever the world is putting on you, that's out of your control. The two things that you can't control that might change it are your effort and attitude.
Right.
So like those And I'm like, that's some solid advice right there. Thanks, Pops.
I love that. It's funny how you said it. It annoyed me earlier, but it's so funny. Like, you think your parents are annoying as hell, then later in life, you're like, God damn it, they were right.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. That's awesome. Well, I tell you.
My bad.
No, you're good. Do you want some of this?
Sure.
Yeah, you're sitting over there, you're waving it in his face. I'm like, offer it to the man.
Well, we're on a roll,
That
man.
virgin tobacco.
Yeah,
And
the
he
virgin
doesn't-
tobacco.
He doesn't want to kill me.
I know.
with,
I'm trying not to. You see all that shit?
Yeah, dude. It's crazy.
Dude, it's fucking not good. Luckily,
I think
most
it's
of the
what-
cases have
what
been the
tobacco
THC.
companies?
What
Dude,
shit?
people are dying from these vapes, bro.
It was like 3 in the last like week or 2 weeks.
They
or
have,
something.
like, yeah.
Wait. Explain.
So
I
it's-
don't know.
Well, I kind of have a little bit of a grasp. I looked into it a little bit. Luckily, most cases are not from just these regular nicotine vapes. They're from THC vapes.
What's going on? Are they blowing up?
It's something about the vitamin E. No, it's causing this pulmonary disease, and there's 450 cases. It like doubled over like a course of a week, and 5 deaths have been linked to not this one in particular, but to certain vapes that people have that have like a coil of THC. I don't know, but yeah, there was one in California, one in Oregon, and I forget where the other ones were. There's some cases here in Florida, but it's, from what I understand and from what someone told me, it's the vitamin E. I guess it's good for you, but when it's made into this vapor form, it is not good for you, and it's causing problems.
They make
Science.
certain. There's like a B12 vape that has no nicotine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the concentrated.
It might be
version of
this
that?
kind of stuff because it's, like I said, the most of the cases are weed pens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I was like, oh, maybe it's not. But then this is linked to some shit, too.
Yeah.
I know it was causing
We're
some...
the guinea pigs of vaping.
I know.
Back in the 50s when doctors were saying, I smoke Camels. It's great. And now
Don't
no
you
one's
wanna be
saying
cool?
vaping is good,
No, I
but
smoke
I don't
Camels.
necessarily subscribe to vaping is better for you. I think
No,
I
and I
subscribe
never
to
have.
I don't know.
See, I kind of do subscribe to that on the lowest of levels because there's no tar in vapes.
Right.
Like you can watch a simple like middle school dare video where you put the tobacco, you put the cigarette in the machine, it goes through the lung, and you're like, this is what your lung looks like after one pack of cigarettes, and it's all from the tar, and you're like, that's gross.
That's so bad.
I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette, and I'm gonna try to get that picture out of my mind.
Yes. Good fucking luck.
But whereas with the vapes, I saw somebody do an experiment on YouTube. They did like through the same thing, a full pack of cigarettes and a full like cartridge of a vape,
And it
or
like
something like
dampened
that.
the cotton or something, right? Or what did it do?
You couldn't really tell.
Right.
You could easily tell with the cigarettes because it's all brown and black and gross. And then with the but I don't know what other chemicals there are in it.
See, that's
you know?
what I'm not even worried about the nicotine. It's the other shit. Because
love the nicotine.
yeah, because I'm
That's the
pretty
best
sure
part.
That's the best part. But I don't think they've been able to directly link that to any cancer-causing things.
No, nicotine's actually in lower doses a nootropic. Like it's good for you.
Oh, yeah,
like
it's a stimulant.
yeah,
Right.
sure. It's good. No, I mean,
Stephen King writing his novels, smoking cigarettes, man.
yeah.
I'm all about them.
Wouldn't that be?
stimulants.
He would. I heard on Rogan. I didn't read. What is? Oh, that's one thing. Why do we respect people more when they say, "Oh, I read that Stephen King smokes a cigarette when he's done with his book," as opposed to "I heard"?
Because reading's harder. And it sounds like almost like a secondhand source instead of a thirdhand source. Because if you heard it, that person probably heard it too. Or even if they read it. Whereas if you're coming straight from, I don't know, Dr. Speinstein's book that says this, it's like that's coming directly from Speinstein.
Speinstein's. that's directly from it right there.
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting. I've just always kind of thought like sometimes I'll do that. I'll say, "Oh, I read," and like, no, you fucking didn't.
And who knows, once it's been heard from someone, I heard this. What does the original thing actually say by the time it reached you?
Yeah, when I say I read it, people don't realize it was from WikiHow. That's where I read it.
Oh, that's funny as hell.
Anything with wiki in the title shouldn't be trusted.
Wiki.
I wanted to mention this earlier. I don't know if you had seen any of it. My brother started M0A. I don't know if you.
Oh yeah.
That's
They fly out Ocala here.
Yeah, that's my brother.
Jason Shappert.
Shappert. I'm Jared Shappert.
No way.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. No, I've definitely seen. He makes some good videos.
Yeah.
I've watched quite a few of his videos.
His studio's right here in town. I'm gonna obviously chop up some of these and isolate some of the clips, but I want to send him you talking about like the accident and stuff. Not that that's a representation of you as a pilot, but and that's where I have some basic knowledge. I used to do videos and stuff for him, so I mean I know like what a Piper Cub is. I know they're generally yellow.
Yes.
I don't. And people always
Gorgeous
ask
yellow.
me, because I would have free flight instruction if I wanted it. To me, I agree with you when you said it's relatively easy, or people, I won't say it's easy. People, I think, because, it's up in the sky, it must be rocket science to fly, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's definitely more involved than driving. I know that.
There's more dimensions.
Right.
You know.
There's more you need to pay attention to. You can't, I mean, you could text and fly, but you got to be focused. And for me, I don't care about it enough to want to put all that focus into it. And I don't want to get up in the air and be a danger to somebody else if I don't have a passion for flying. I don't really have much of an interest, and it might just be because my brother, it's like, he flies, I don't want to fly. My brother's a flute player, I want to play the drums.
Sure.
So I never wanted to dive into that if I wasn't 100% serious to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great hobby if you have money. If it's just going to be a hobby,
My brother
You have
still,
to
he does well for himself. He sells his ground school, all this stuff.
I bought his audiobook. Tell him I bought his audiobook for my
Dude,
private
small
pilot oral exam.
World.
Not too small of a world, realizing how he's my brother to me, and he's Jason, whatever, he's a dork. When he filmed a movie, Flying Again, where he was taking rusty pilots and then getting them current. One guy was just a couple months out, all the way to a guy who hadn't flown in 30 years. And I filmed the behind the scenes stuff for him. And we were walking at some random airport in Denver, Colorado. We're walking, and I hear people, Jason, it's Jason Shepard. I'm like he gets recognized as a fucking celebrity sometimes.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a community, man.
It's weird.
Like, I mean, I went to Sun and Fun,
Yeah.
last Sun and Fun over at Lakeland there, which I invited Zach to, but he never replied to my text. But
You would probably find that
I'm
cool. I've
horrible.
been to Sun and Fun.
dude, you would love it. There's so many cool planes. The Blue Angels were there.
Dude.
It's so
See, well,
good.
I'm a big fan of the air shows. So I go to the one in Melbourne when I can. But
Yeah.
anyway, keep going.
Anyways, besides
Yeah.
my broken heart.
Damn.
Look, man, I'm trying to make it up to you right now. I'm trying.
No, but like, dude, that is a community. The general aviation community is very interactive with each other, supportive of each other as well, and then also impactful. Like, they get more legislation done than so many other areas. Like, I don't know how much the NRA actually gets. Well, they get through a lot, but the general aviation, dude, they are trying to keep small airports alive. They're trying to keep general aviation alive through legislation. It's like keeping this little, like, I don't know, it's kind of like a kept secret. The fact that they ask me all the time, they're like, so you can just fly wherever you want? I'm like, yeah. I can get in my plane, fly wherever I want. If it's a public airport, I can just land there. And a lot of them, they'll have courtesy cars.
Yeah.
So I'll land, like I went up to Vidalia, Georgia, got some onions while I was there.
Hell yeah.
But I landed there. It's a tiny, cute little airport, and they're like, here are the keys to the courtesy car. It's like a retired police Dodge Charger. And
Dope.
Yeah, man. So we went into town, got some Georgia barbecue, and then flew back. Like, that's
And
fun.
that's a day.
I can go
Yeah.
anywhere in the country.
It's like ultimate freedom, man.
Yeah, it is definitely freedom, and that's what bush flying even more so, because you don't even need a runway. You just need a little bit of grass.
Be like,
you know?
yo, how's that look down there? We got it. Oh, that's so cool.
Do a flyover. It's like, do you see any holes?
Yeah.
No, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. That's so funny. Go ahead.
Getting into the conservation side, Zach, I know, is very passionate about anti-poaching. Zach's passionate about poaching.
Yeah, no, I'm anti.
I know.
hate it.
I didn't want to word
Yeah.
it that way. This is something he and I brought up, and I want to see if you have any more nuance on it. The benefits, not to poaching, fuck poaching. That's the official Somewhat Savant stance. Fuck poaching.
Second.
The benefits of letting these rich dentists and doctors come in, pay a shit ton of money to get one rhino or one lion. Have you, I mean, what I'm saying is I've heard the other side. I think there was an episode of that show, Adam Ruins Everything, where it's like, it's not as bad as everyone thinks. People think they see Cecil the lion and the rich dentist, and they think, oh, he just went over there and killed them, but they don't realize that all that money gets poured back into those villages. Am I correct in thinking that, or do you not know much about it?
I mean, it's not all black and white.
Right.
So, I mean, it depends. So, like with Cecil the Lion, what happened there, I mean, I'm not 100% informed on that, but I know that he shot the lion in an illegal part. He wasn't supposed to be hunting there. So I think like the hunting company that he went there with and got all this through, like they were the ones that messed up. And that's why he shot this lion instead of another lion, because it took place in the national park, something like that. But as a whole, yeah, people don't understand. As soon as there's any sort of like human interference with nature, which is everywhere. Like the fact that all these private game reserves, even Kruger National Park, which is one of the largest national parks in the world and in Africa, even though it spans, tens of thousands, like it spans miles and miles between South Africa and Mozambique, there's still a fence around it. There's a big fence. And because of that, there's going to be a need for animal management. So because overpopulation of one species is going to negatively affect other species, plant species, all these things in a negative way that, and like you can't even see these wildebeest. So when I was doing the guiding, one of the questions is like, do these wildebeest do the Great Migration every year? And the answer is, well, no, because there's a fence. Like they aren't going to get through the fence, but also they don't need to, because we have things dammed up. They have water right here. The whole reason why they make the Great Migration in the wild is because that's like the only place for them to get water. They're charging towards the water. So we've built dams to help accommodate that. But when it comes to hunting, a lot of times, like I saw a lot of outrage over this woman who hunted this black giraffe, and just on the face of the Facebook post that I saw, and it was like, this woman kills an endangered, rare giraffe because this and this. I'm like, you're only getting half of the story there, because giraffes naturally get black with age. Like they get darker and darker. Whoa. So that means it was an older giraffe, an older male giraffe who, after doing my own investigation on it, that he was sterile because he was so old, but he was killing all the younger males in their competition. You know how giraffes hit each other with the necks
and stuff.
I mean, he's killing other giraffes and not reproducing, not helping the population at all. At that point, that giraffe, they need to do some management. They're going to do it. So the best way to do it is to charge somebody thousands of dollars to come in and do it, and then all that money goes into conservation for that species or other species that don't get nearly as much awareness, like pangolins, for example. If you've never seen a pangolin, they're really cool. They're like armored
they look like armadillos
that I've never even heard of that.
Anteater armadillo thing.
They're anteater armadillos with scales and clubbed feet, and they walk on their back 2 feet.
It's cool. They're really cool.
Really, interesting.
Yeah. And it's a cool animal that is actually the most trafficked animal in the world, because in Eastern cultures, they think the scales are medicinal or good luck.
Give you a big boner.
Pretty much everything. Pretty much everything that's being poached for its medicine is just supposed boner medicine. Like get some Viagra, dude. That stuff is proven to work and is a lot cheaper. But so the fact that all this management generates so much revenue that helps towards the conservation, and it's necessary in the first place, but then there's also some places that I don't really know how I feel about it, because they'll have lions, for example, raised on a small like game reserve just to be hunted. Oof. And so like they raise them up in this small area, and they go hunting in this small area. They know exactly where it is. This animal is raised to be hunted. And that's, even more of a gray area there. It's like, because where are the ethics in that? But then even as poaching goes, there's different kinds of poaching that makes it gray too. Like, obviously somebody coming in to kill a rhino just so it can cut off the front of its face and sell its horn is horrid. And
right.
Like, what can you really possibly want to do that for? But you have to put yourself in the people's shoes, because the people that are the poachers themselves that are pulling the triggers, it's like in a lot of these areas, there's not jobs, they're poor, and that's why if they're hunting a wildebeest and they're going to just be eating the wildebeest, which is not endangered, and just be using that for food for themselves, their family, and their neighbors, something like that, I mean, it's still poaching. So you're like, you can't do this, but at the same time, who are you to tell somebody that, hey, you can't feed yourself with this wild animal because we say so?
Yeah.
But then even on the rhino side, it's like, hey, we won't let you provide for your family because, it comes down to an education thing. You wish you could tell people, it's like, listen, these are the rhinos. Look, like they're magnificent animals. They've been here for this long. Like, we need to keep them. This is the tourism that you get from rhinos is helping your community more than it would be if you kill the rhino, this and that. So I mean, it's an issue on education, because most people, they get an opportunity to go out and shoot a rhino and make 2 years salary in one night. It's like,
Jesus.
how do you say no to that?
Right.
Now, I'm ignorant to this. Are there areas where these would-be poachers can go legally fair chase hunt and get their meat and do what they need to do, or is everything protected?
Most everything is protected. So there are different places where, like, the tribes that have been there for so long, they were given an amount of land, and they can go hunt on their land and do this and that.
Similar to Native Americans here.
Right. And there's a lot of still primitive tribes too that do their hunting with bows and arrows and all this stuff. And like that will manage itself, because you're never going to be able to kill enough wildebeest with a bow and arrow to put a dent in all that. But most of the poaching that is done, and that's the big issue, is they will like sneak onto national parks and private reserves, cut through the wire during a full moon.
It's like a whole operation.
Yeah, they call it a poacher's moon, because full moons are when they can go out without any artificial lights, still
they can
see things,
right?
and try to make a clean escape that way. So, I mean, like I said, like anything is, it's kind of a gray area, but all in all, banning big game hunting would negatively impact conservation.
Right.
Like,
interesting.
The amount of money, I mean, that's where almost all of the conservation money is coming from, with the exception of some nonprofit organizations.
Damn, that's crazy that most of it's coming from that. That just goes to show you no one's really donating to the cause, I guess, huh?
Well, I mean, because that money goes to the government when they hand out tags and permits and things like that, and then that money is relocated back into their national parks and conservation and things like that. So, and I mean, I don't really know the exact numbers of where the money is coming from, but I know that a significant amount of it comes from legally getting these tags, coming over, hunting this animal that is probably going to need to be killed anyways, or they've done studies to find that it would not negatively impact the population because there's already such a healthy population. They're not going to let you go out and kill a fertile female lion that's, has been raising babies the past 3 years, like consistently making cubs.
Right.
But if there's an old male lion that's killing all the other males and isn't making any babies, then you can either pay somebody to come in and shoot it, or you can have them pay you to come in and shoot it. So,
not enough people understand these things. And Zach and I just had a whole discussion.
I'll be the first to tell you, I didn't.
Yeah. Well, a couple episodes ago, just the lack of nuance at all in the world. Nothing is black or white.
yeah.
I mean, everything is a gray area, but sticking to this, when Facebook and Twitter get a hold of a picture of the hot girl in front of the lion and vilify them, I mean, that will, I'm guessing, but I think it's a pretty smart guess that that's probably backing some people off of that, of the big game hunting. And I think the same thing goes here in the States, that most conservation funds come from hunting.
Fish and game.
Yeah, hunters. So not enough people have a fucking understanding about where their food comes from and the circle of life.
Yeah, and it's all headline outrage too. It's like I was saying with the person that shot the black giraffe. It's like, yeah, on the surface, and with that headline that you just read, it's like, yeah, I'd be mad too. This person's just coming over and shooting rare giraffes. What the hell?
Right.
Giraffes are cute as hell.
Yeah.
I had one eat lettuce out of my hand at Tampa Zoo.
How dare you?
How dare you kill this cute animal that is nothing but love and nature? Meanwhile, nature fucks itself up all the time because that's how nature
you
works.
Ever seen an alligator eat something? It's fucking violent.
But you get this Disney movie idea of how nature is supposed to work, and any kind of thing that you do is negatively impacting. It's like you're killing Simba every time you kill a lion. It's like, well, kinda, but Simba is an old bastard who's killing all the other lions. Like,
Yeah, so how is
Simba's
that
a
fair?
ruthless fuck. I don't think in The Lion King, I did not see this new one. I don't care to.
I would. I haven't seen it.
I saw it.
What'd you think?
Did they show them eating the way lions would really eat?
No. Did they show it in the original Lion King?
No, they would eat berries and shit.
Yeah. and-
Timon and Pumbaa are
bugs.
like, ooh,
yeah,
bugs.
no. They showed that. They showed Simba eating bugs and shit.
Poor bugs.
I
Bugs
know,
get a
right?
bad
Yeah,
rep,
bugs'
man.
rights.
No one gives a damn about bugs. So you
I
think
love
about
bugs.
that.
I love the small stuff. That's one thing that I gained an appreciation for when I was down there. Like all the plants, all the bugs, all the birds. I got really into birding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What was my nickname
Birding
over
over the-
Gatorland?
What it was
The bird nerd.
the bird nerd,
I was called
Steven
the
the bird
bird
nerd
nerd.
Whalen. Yes.
Yeah, but birds over there and insects over there, Jesus, compared to here.
But even compared to here, so like what I say, like I got into birding even when I came back here because you can go on a hike here in Central Florida, and if you're lucky, you see 3 mammals. You'll see a deer, a squirrel, and a raccoon.
Maybe a deer.
Maybe a deer.
Right.
3. Whereas if you go looking for birds, you're gonna find 20 different birds in a day, and you're gonna be. It's like that's so cool. There's such a wide variety. And then if you go looking for insects, you're gonna find almost 100 different insects in a day if you're lucky, because there's just so many more of them. So I grew up playing Pokemon, and birding to me was like Pokemon, man. I'm trying to fill up my Pokedex.
Right?
I'm trying to find all these
That's-
birds. I'm seeing them, like, check that one off the
Yep,
list.
seen
Bro.
it in the flesh.
That would be a very cool version of Pokemon Go and
Real
getting
life-
kids into birding. Does that exist?
Well, I did my own version. It's like Pokemon Snap. I had my camera, and I was trying to get
Yeah,
a picture
I
of as
played
many
that on
different,
Nintendo 64.
as many different pictures of birds as I could, and give myself point
That-
ratings, send them to Professor Oak, all that good shit.
I might fucking
Battle
cut this
Brock
part
later.
out.
I don't know, maybe.
That's a good ass fucking idea. Getting kids into nature with something like that.
It would be good. I mean, because the thing is, birding. You probably know this. There's like, I feel like there's an underground like cult with this.
Oh, there's a
Because
huge
my
community.
mom and my stepdad just recently were like, you're gonna think we're old, but we've been getting up early, drinking coffee, and watching for birds on the porch. And I'm just like, yeah, you're probably right. I am thinking that right now. But 2, I'm like, that's fucking cool. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I immediately think back to you and like people who like at work, because we do the the birding thing. But you're right, and that would be a good way to get people, because it'd be a fun game for the kids if
And
they
you
wanted
could-
to do it.
you could
if they
marry-
can hold their attention that long or
Well,
patience.
you marry the 2 ideas of technology and nature. We
Right.
want to separate them. Let's bring them together.
Yeah, and let me say this too. There's I forget what it's called. I'm gonna have to look it up, or because I want to say what the company's name is. But in South Africa.
That's too much.
No, yeah, don't worry about it. But in South Africa,
I see that?
this woman, she came while we were on course doing all this, and she introduces us to this program that they're using to track birds, not only migrations, but also just like their status. Because it's hard to get a count on how many birds of this species there are. So what you would do is like you would pick a kind of a grid, a spot that you're birding for that day. And every time you see a specific bird, you would log that in, and it would go into their database. So now if you see a bird book, they publish the distribution range of all these birds, and it'll be like an outline on a map. It's like you find them in this area, and then in the winter you'll find them over here. So what they did is they're like, using this to be like, listen, you can track all your birds, you can do all your birding, and then also you can make a difference by helping us realize how the numbers are, how the distribution is changing, how climate change is affecting all this.
Right.
And so, like, you can literally see it on a map, and they'll even have like special days where they'll all go out and flood a certain area and get like, you know, a 40 square miles and just sit there all day looking for birds and marking them down. So like you can incorporate what you were saying with making it a fun, almost Pokemon Go style, and also helping conservation and scientists realize at the same time, it's like, this is where the birds are. We've had this amount, you know, in this area, so there's a healthy population there, but where this one used to be a healthy population, now they're on the decline. What's up with that?
Have you listened to, do you listen to Joe Rogan?
Yeah. Yeah.
The most recent one with Steven Ranella.
Love Steve Ranella. I started watching his show, Meat Eater.
Yeah.
Just gets that testosterone pumping.
That's a
man.
real hunting show, too.
It is.
It's not the canned hunt. Sometimes he'll go and there's a whole episode where he doesn't get anything. It's real hunting. If he doesn't get something on that trip, that's what happened. It's awesome. But I'm almost positive it was the most recent one, because I'll go back and listen to old ones. I'm in a Ranella mood, and I'll go through all the fucking Ranellas.
Right.
I do that with Sam Harris. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Let's go back and listen to the Sam Harris ones again,
Bro. I'll say something about Sam Harris in a second. He's so fucking hard to follow. There, I'll say it. Like, I feel like a fucking
idiot.
Yeah.
Dude, when I watched him and Jordan Peterson do an event, I'm just
like,
gone.
okay.
Yeah.
It's so over my head sometimes that I'll have to go back and listen to like a Joey Diaz one just to be like,
more my speed.
yeah. But Ranella was talking about it's very similar to what you were just saying. Certain ducks, they would have, I want to say, bracelets. And it was always, and they did that to track.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean, what?
No, I was going to say, I know what you're talking about, because sometimes I've seen people who've seen a bird that has the bracelet on them.
Yeah.
Like they'll put those little bracelets on their legs.
And if you shot that duck and got it, you're supposed to call the number on there and say, hey, I got the duck.
At this location. At this time. Yeah.
And so that helps. I think it was either a bracelet or a necklace. But they were also talking about, it got started because apparently when you got a duck with a bracelet, it was like, hell yeah, like that's rare. I got it, and I'll help out. But they would feel so terrible and probably not even take the shot of a deer that had a necklace on, or a collar. It was a collared duck, a collared deer. There's something about like putting a collar on an animal that you'd be like, I'm not gonna get that one.
It just, all you can think about is, my dog wears a collar.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess it would be a weird feeling. I can't say exactly why it would be. I mean, because when do they do this in the process? Was this deer darted as an adult?
That's what I was going to ask.
Because then it's like this deer has already been hunted. You know, it's already
been taken
said.
down.
That's what they said. It's not as pure. It's like he's been caught.
Whereas with the ducks, I'm pretty sure they do that when they're like little ducklings and they're small. They'll put it on then, and then it kind of like lives its whole life free. It was never shot and darted and then they put it on, because then it's like, this duck just sucks at not getting hunted.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's funny.
That's a really good point. That's exactly what they said. Now that I remember, have you ever been hunting?
I've not. I would definitely do it though.
Me too.
Like I kind of want to do Alaska as well. If Africa
would be amazing.
If Africa doesn't work out,
Take
maybe
your
I'll
bush pilot skills up there, man.
do some flying in Alaska. And
you could have a TV show about you.
Dude,
you could have good on a fucking TV show.
You could have a TV show about me in Africa.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Hey,
and then
before I forget
carry
this
on.
train of thought, I wanted to say this, and maybe I should have talked about this off air. Fuck it. I'd really be interested. I want to keep up with you and what's going on. If you filmed your process and send it to me or to Zach, like I'm good at editing and shit. I don't know if you are. I want to keep this going. And he's another one. I always say I fucking hate Skype podcasts where you have to Skype in because it just seems so impersonal. But in the matter of keeping up with you, I think that'd be fascinating.
Yeah,
just like a
dude,
check-in.
that'd be dope.
And have you be a part of the Get Better collective, because you really embody what the fuck we want to try to do. And I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in, like kind of vlogging your progress. And
Yeah, I mean, I've considered doing a vlog because, I mean, let's be honest, I'm doing some pretty cool shit.
it's pretty fucking cool.
I know.
And only reason
I know.
why I do it is because it's cool and I want to. But so I don't have to have everybody else kind of see it. Like, I'm experiencing it for myself, and that's good enough. But I feel like there is like a market for it. But at the same time, even when I was in South Africa just taking pictures, there's a difference between trying to get the best picture and enjoying the moment while you're in the moment.
Right.
So like there's this balance. It's a balancing act, and I feel like I would have the same problem if I was doing a vlog or filming things. It's like, this is so good, I want to film this, and then I just kind of like miss the moment of being there. And you know, I'll write it in my journal later, and not everybody will be able to see it, but I don't really care if everybody else sees it. It'd be cool. Like, that's why Facebook and Instagram is cool, because if I do get a cool snap and like, look, I'm sharing this with all my friends. But yeah, so I thought about it, but I would especially, I'm not that good at editing. I was in TV production in high school. I was actually the head of the TV production, and it was really fun. And I, you know, screwed off all the time, but it was good. I had the Stephen Whalen show my senior year, the morning announcements, just pretty much ran my own thing. Welcome to the Stephen Whalen show, featuring David Whalen.
Breaking news. Lunch isn't free.
But yeah, I just figured it was just going to be too time consuming and too much.
That's a fine line you walk. I've thought the same thing of living life and exploiting it for content. However, where I'm coming from, and I believe he's coming from too, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm in a place where I'm not doing shit at all. If I vlogged my life right now, it'd be pretty fucking boring. I mean, house arrest is one thing, but this is a way for me to, one, get out of the rut I'm in. I know and your situation's a little different, I know if I put it out in the internet sphere, if I say I'm going to try being a stand-up comedian for a month, I know I'm like, well, people are expecting a video. I've got to fucking do it. So it's a way for me to get out and try new things and create content at the same time.
Yes.
I fully get where you're coming from. And maybe we could do, instead of, I mean, obviously you could take some videos. I'm really good at editing. Ask him. You send me anything, I'll edit it. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. I'd just be very interested in your progress, even if...
We could even get him to call in on like a WhatsApp.
Oh, yeah, you can do it via
WhatsApp,
Skype or
Skype.
something.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Wi-Fi does exist in Africa. It's
What?
crazy. But all you do is you attach a flash drive to a pigeon. Okay.
Right.
And then
They'll get there.
Do a couple laps, bro.
it'll do a couple laps. The satellite will pick it up. And I don't know all the science behind it, but it's there.
In some form or the other.
But just like every 2 weeks or whenever something cool happens, you just reach out to Zach, or I'll give you my number. You reach out to me, and we just keep up with your progress, and that's something I would handle you just have to, your mission would be go live the crazy life. We will figure out how to tell people about it, because I just think it's fascinating, and I try to look at it from, I'm not doing this so we'll get likes and so people will follow us, because obviously I'd love for what we're doing right now to pay the bills. ZipRecruiter, holler at me. But I want to just do this for the sake of, we want to do whatever the fuck we want to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And
I'd definitely be down to come back, do interviews, send you some video, because I've got 2 GoPros. I mean, come on. I'm
yeah, dude.
pretty
And
much a
you would-
videographer at this point.
And you wouldn't even have to come back or do anything, man. You could just send it, and like it could be just something that we talk about, like, you know, get better. It was the original concept for even doing this in the first place.
Yeah.
And we can just consistently use you as an example. You know what I mean? and we can just be like, yo, we checked in with Steven last week, and here's what he had to say. We could fucking play it back.
He's dead.
Dude, now Crocodile got him, but, he went out with a smile.
Better now crocodile than malaria.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, they kill 400 people plus a year out there, so be
Crocodiles?
careful. The Nile.
That's just reported, dude.
That's
the
just
number's so much higher.
Yeah, you would know.
They say that the hippo is the most deadly animal in Africa.
That's what I heard.
I can test that because a hippo, they kill people when they're on a trail going down to a water source. If an angry hippo's there, it'll ram them, stomp them, kill them, and the body's just left there. Whereas if a crocodile gets you,
you're gone.
You've seen crocodiles eat. There's no trace of you. So that's a missing person.
Drowned. Oh, jeez.
So those numbers of crocodile kills, low. Those are very, very conservative numbers because most of the time they don't leave any traces.
Now, I'm going to show you guys a picture that my wife sent me. And we went on a PETA/Everglades rant in our 3rd episode.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure he's with me on the PETAs.
They're harmful.
I hate them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I have not read any of their literature. I don't follow them on Facebook.
You give good PR-friendly answers.
Look, when I told him, they tried me when they tried Steve Irwin on his birthday. And then...
I don't know if you saw that.
And then the whole...
Dead Steve Irwin? He's already passed?
He's already passed.
Oh, they said he was harmful,
and they
he
said
was bad.
and he's not everything he seemed. And,
All right, I'm against PETA.
Yeah, that's what done it for me. And then just their whole dead dog scandal. Look that up. There's this whole... It's one of the first searches. PETA kills dogs. It's like it's a real thing.
Look at this, though.
But anyway, what's that?
A python that got rolled up in a bale of hay.
Ooh, that's actually a Doomeral's boa.
Or whatever it is. I don't fucking know.
Or a
but
red-tailed
I was
boa.
curious to get
Damn, that's crazy.
your take on what exactly the fuck is going on in the Everglades, because sometimes I get sick of hearing Zach's opinion.
Me too.
And it's good.
I feel like I've been doing pretty good.
You have. I'm fucking with you. Give him the virgin tobacco.
Yeah, here, virgin tobacco.
If at any point you want to go and take a smoke break too, we can pause this bitch.
Well, see, this was virgin tobacco until I got a hold of it.
Whoa.
It's funny. He's got jokes.
The
And
Everglades.
it turns back virgin when I get it back.
Shut up.
Everglades.
Everglades.
Yeah, we talked about this.
I want to talk about it again. Is that okay?
No, I'm saying I was like letting him know. Keep going. Fuck it.
You seem to have more conservation knowledge than Zach and I combined. Thus, somewhat savants.
I know, right? I'm very emotional. Hence why I'm on the stage.
Sure.
Keep going. Keep going.
I didn't really ask a question. What's your...
Oh.
Are you aware of like the pythons and stuff in the Everglades? And
Yeah, it was a big
are you
thing.
versed in that,
Gatorland.
or are you as smart as we are?
Well, I'm aware. I would probably say that I'm as smart as you are. I'm probably because Zach has had probably the same amount of exposure as I have, working at Gatorland, having friends that are going herping.
Right,
down
exactly.
What's herping?
Herping
Looking
is
for reptiles.
Yeah, so it's the reptile version of birding.
I'll put that in my game.
So reptiles and amphibians too. You can go herping for frogs.
Gigging.
I used to get made fun of when I had my AOL account. My username used to be surfing and herping, and
Bro.
everyone used to be like, "Dude, do you have herpes?" And I was like, "Fuck." My nerdiness was not helping me out back then, but
in like what I would say about it is like it's not much different than any other invasive species invasion, I guess, hence the name invasive, as anything else. The problem is it's like they're just flourishing, man, those pythons, because they've
got like a 250,000 population right now.
They have a healthier population in the Everglades than they do in their natural habitat over in India, because they just don't have...
that's their natural habitat is India?
Yeah, that's where they came from. And they just, in a clutch of eggs, they can have 100 babies in one clutch. And once they get past a certain size, they're no longer prey
Vulnerable
to almost anything. You might get one idiot python trying to eat an alligator bigger than it is, and then it'll die. But once it gets past a certain size, hawks aren't going to go for it anymore. Osprey, alligators, all these things will stop trying to get it.
Right.
And so at that point, it's like animal management again. Humans made this problem. We have to try to contain it for the sake of the native species there, because they're the ones that are suffering.
Right.
So I mean, ideally, and it's sad because, I mean, you and I both have experience with Burmese pythons. They're beautiful animals. They're awesome. But and as far as the Everglades go, best case scenario, they'd be eradicated.
Yeah, the only way, I agree with that. The only way to do it is to kill them.
Will they ever be eradicated?
No, they won't.
It's too late.
Everglades is too broad. It's too wild. If it stays in its pristine condition that it is, the only way that it's going to get eradicated is if everything else in the Everglades is eradicated too, because of human issues or like building new, I don't know, condominiums or whatever it is.
Right.
But at this point, they are so... I don't think there's anything you can do.
And most people agree with that. I'm pretty sure at this point.
What
just kill them and manage it.
Yeah, what happens is when people do try to manage it, they try to bring in another invasive species to fight that invasive species.
And then they become invasive.
Yeah, it's like the old lady that swallowed a fly and then swallowed a frog and then swallowed a horse. Like, lady, what are you doing? It's like the fly would have been just okay. Maybe it's better not to mess with it.
Right.
But, I mean, I don't have a degree in anything like that. I'm sure some people probably have better ideas than I do. I don't see a way that you would be able to eradicate them completely. Obviously, putting bounties on them,
Which they do.
Yeah, so anybody can go out.
People do it for a living, full time.
If you catch the python, you kill it, you bring it to FWC, and they pay you for it. Like, that's a start.
And then you can sell the hide. Like, I saw one guy, follow him. His name's Python or Trapper Mike or something on Instagram. And dude, every night he goes out and he sometimes gets like 6, 7, 8 at one time, but he keeps the skin. He, sells the meat if he can, and he'll make leather products out of their skin, but he's licensed and he goes out there and he's an animal guy too. And he makes it clear, like he has pigs and he's got, some of his own animals and he rescues hawks, but he straight up says, he's like, I know I take heat all the time for doing this, but it's the only way. And he'll kill them by the numbers, like huge numbers he'll take in, and he's out there all night just finding them, and he'll put videos of him catching them. It's crazy. Like, he literally, I don't think has a night where he doesn't find one.
Oh no, they're everywhere.
Yeah,
they're probably the most common snake you could find in the Everglades.
It's insane.
Damn.
Yeah,
it's insane. And the only reason we don't have them here is because the temperature is just cold enough.
Well, I know they're encroaching.
From what I understand,
they're encroaching into like Miami and stuff too, where you'll see them in people's pools.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And another thing, too, is I think the pythons overshadow the other ones that are the problem. Green iguanas. Tegus.
Yeah.
What's a tegu?
A tegu's a big lizard.
Okay.
They're actually worse than
Is it like a monitor?
Yeah, they're like monitor lizards.
They're omnivorous. So they eat a lot of the native birds' eggs. They
flower
eat
beds.
Plants.
Everything.
Endangered plants. They'll eat anything and everything. And they're a big problem, too.
And then the iguanas, obviously, they're strictly vegetarian, and they eat, the same shit when it comes to plants.
The vegetation.
Yeah, and then they got salmonella in their shit. From what I've read, that their shit's like really a problem down and they hang out in the fucking city. They're all over the place.
Yeah, man.
And then veiled chameleons. Veiled chameleons are down there.
It's tiny little spots, though.
Little spots.
Chameleons are a little bit different because they don't flourish like the other species.
Right.
They kind of stay in the locality there. But the reason why they were introduced is because of the pet trade. Like, you could find
that's
a chameleon.
how the pythons is the pet trade too.
You can find a chameleon in almost any pet store you go to. And so these people, they took like a little community of chameleons that could breed, put them out in a secret spot that they probably put a GPS pin out in the Everglades, wait a year, come back and collect the babies. And so, like, those places, a friend of ours actually found a place, got shot at while he was looking for chameleons because he was in somebody else's spot and they were there. And apparently they shot at him.
Dude, that's insane.
So
that's insane.
Now,
and parrots.
Parrots, yeah.
Parrots, too.
Isn't it the case with New Zealand? There was nothing native to New Zealand. I don't think there was any native species. They were all
just hobbits.
Well, yeah. They were all brought in by rich people back in the 30s and just for hunting. And we talked, I think on the same Everglades podcast, how feral cats are in, like, I think maybe worse than the python problem in the Everglades is feral cats. I think it's New Zealand or Australia or both. I think New Zealand. What am I trying to say? If we left everything alone, if humans never got involved, would nature work itself out? Or because we're a part of the food chain, we have to intervene?
It would work itself out. Not like if we left right now, say there's some cataclysmic disease that only affected humans and all the humans died. Nature would get back to a balanced state, but not the balanced state that it was before we were
It would
here.
be different. You're right.
Like, because feral cats are here and feral cats are so versatile and they eat almost everything.
And we have that here in Florida,
Their
too.
numbers would increase dramatically, but eventually there would be a balance where they... I mean, and that's true for even white-tailed deer in the state park right behind my house. And, you know, in one 10-year period, their population will peak at a number where it's no longer sustainable because there's not enough food for them and all this, and then it starts going on the decline again. And then once it's at that low point and everything regrows, it starts back up on the climb, and there's a peak in the population there. So there would eventually get to be a balance where it's nature and everything's working. But I mean, another thing that people have to remember is that, like, the world's always changing. We've gone through ice ages. We've gone through, you know, lots of climate change before us. And I'm not trying to, you know, decrease the significance of climate change now. But nature's always changing.
Right. It's a natural occurring process regardless.
That's how evolution works. Like, species have been going extinct since millions of years before we were here, and they're going to continue to have a new species and then get extinct long after we're gone too. Hopefully, if we don't, like, I don't know, destroy the entire world somehow.
Right.
But that's just the way that life goes, and we kind of get set into that's the way it was 100 years ago, back when. Or 200 years ago, back when bison were on the plains in the Midwest in thousands and giant herds. Like, that's the way it should be, and we need to try to get it back there. At this point, there's no going back to that.
Right.
You know, you're not going to be able to correct the problem to that magnitude. You can just try to get it back to a new balance.
Right. That makes sense.
And this podcast is brought to you by New Balance.
New Balance shoes.
No one's wearing them.
That's funny.
You're not even wearing shoes. What are you doing?
No, I love it.
That is the New Balance.
I wear those, the 5 fingers sometimes, the toe shoes.
Yeah, I do Tevas. Sandals all the time.
I'm glad you're wearing your boots, bro.
Bro, I saw you on the Instagram clip. You're still wearing your teeth, so I wore my teeth.
Dude, you know what's so funny? I didn't wear them today. I'm like, not every day anymore. It's like every other day. But yes, you saw that. I should have worn mine.
I wear my teeth every time I fly because they're good luck, man. I tell people I've never been bitten. Well, kind of.
yeah.
For the most part, I've never been bitten by an alligator while wearing them. And, dang it. And I used to say I've never been in a plane crash while wearing them, but now both of those aren't true. Maybe it's time to phase away from the gator
the good
teeth.
luck was the plane is back in the air and no one got fired.
Yeah, they say that any landing that you can walk away from is a good landing. Any landing that you can use the plane again afterwards is a great landing.
Hey, I love that. That's funny.
Let's get some counterbalance here. He told his gator bite story, went viral on Instagram. You have a gator bite story?
I've got a gator bite story.
Let's hear it.
It's not as fun. The better gator bite story was when it bit Tyler. You remember that during the jump show?
He got bit in the
on
jump
the
show?
overall pants.
Oh, shit.
That's
yeah,
probably a
say
better
that story.
I'll say mine real quick.
All right.
Because mine is...
I got a squirrel bladder, so you go ahead. I'm going to be right here.
So I've got a little scar on my thigh. So when I'm trying to impress a girl, like, I'm wearing shorts like I do most of the time. I'm like, yeah, it's a gator bite. I used to wrestle alligators. What I don't tell them is they're like a 3.5 foot long alligator.
Oh, no.
So what I was working at Gatorland, and this little girl had like dropped a toy that she had bought in the gift shop into the pools at the front of the park where they can feed the little gators. So in the past, these little gators would just be, every time you'd go into their pool, they would just, run away from you, try to stay as far away as possible. But as soon as they started feeding them, and now they feed them almost every day, like, because people can pay, get a little like stick with a string and fish attached to it, and get the gators to jump up for it. It's fun. The gators get some exercise.
In that main pool?
And there's like 3 little pools, probably about the size of this room at the front of the park that each have little gators in them. But this little girl dropped her toy in. I get a call on the radio, so I head up there. And so I get my water boots on, and I hop in there to go get this girl her toy. And I just wasn't really paying attention. This one alligator kept jumping up at me. I just kind of like splashed him to get him to go away. But as I reached down to get this little girl's toy, I feel something on my thigh. And this little gator is attached to my thigh here and does a quick shake and then releases. And like there were people, because as soon as you walk into an alligator pool, all the people walking around say, huddle around.
He's in there.
He's in there. It's so
He's in
crazy.
there.
I don't think anybody saw it but that little girl. That it got my leg. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, don't worry. I'm fine. Just got my pants." Give her a toy, walk back as the blood starts seeping through my jeans. I'm like, crap. So I go in the bathroom and in the old Gatorland fashion, take my pants down, take a look at it. I'm like, yep. And I bite my shirt and pour bleach on it.
Yep. Good old method. The bleach method. Yep. Once
freaks
again.
me out.
And so it foamed up a little bit, stung like hell. But it didn't even rip my jeans. Nobody saw it.
Which is fucking crazy.
Because it ripped my skin underneath, but it didn't rip my jeans.
It made no sense.
But the better story is with Tyler. So we're doing one of the shows that we do at Gatorland. It's called the Jumperoo Show. It's basically a feeding show with really cheesy theatrics in it where there's two rednecks and they're high energy. You've seen it. If anybody's been to Gatorland, you've seen it too. But anyways, I was the MC for that show. And our friend Tyler, who's also an actor, he did this weird wind up in this pretend fight scene where he went to go punch the other guy who ducks and gets out of the way. But when he punched, he had so much forward momentum. He jumped right over the wall, dividing us from some alligators that we would go out and feed. Mm-hmm. Landed right in front of one of the alligators. I say it was an 11-foot alligator. I might have just slowly exaggerated up to that point, but in my memory, it was a 10 or an 11-foot alligator.
They're big in that
It was one of the big ones that was always up on the ramp.
Right.
So this alligator got him by the pant leg of his overalls, because that's what you wear in the costume. So I could kind of tell that it didn't have like his leg in it.
Because luckily they're baggy.
He wasn't screaming and it wasn't death rolling, but it had him like... And they get lockjaw. Like, you're not getting that out. And because it's overalls, you're also not taking those off quickly. So I had to throw down my mic in the middle of the show because this alligator has them. If that 11-foot alligator decides, all right,
you're coming
back
in the
to
water.
the water, walks back into the water during the feeding time, Gatorland gets shut down.
This would have been news. So not good.
I throw the mic down. I literally jump straight onto the back of this alligator. Like I get behind him and jump on it and put my hands right on his neck there. As soon as I do that, he releases.
Oh, wow.
So he releases Tyler, who like gets back into the safe space over there. So now I'm stuck on the back of this 11-foot alligator. And now the key is to get off safely.
Right.
So I'm like
tricky.
Taking a deep breath, my adrenaline's pumping. This is the biggest alligator I've ever been on. I didn't really get to do much planning ahead of time.
You're like, oh God, don't turn.
So I slowly start sneaking my hands up so I can close his mouth. Once I have his mouth shut, I start bringing his head back so he doesn't have as much mobility. And then I hop off and I'm clear and I get back and now we have the rest of the show to do. So
continue the show.
Oh yeah, the show must go on.
The show must go on. So how did you address it once you got back the mic?
No, man. My hands were shaking, dude. Like I had the adrenaline pumping.
Shock. Right.
I could barely talk. So I was like, all right, let's go. Just feed them. 3, 2, 1, go.
Cook it up. Go.
Just go. Get that done. And I'm like, all right, now go over there. Feed them this way. Don't get bit, Bubba. And let's go. And then afterwards, dude, I'm still like, that was crazy. And then Gator Gully. So I don't know how many people in the audience didn't realize that wasn't scripted and that doesn't happen.
Right.
And how serious of a situation that was. But there are a couple of guests that they're there all the time. They take a lot of really cool Instagram pictures at the park, but they come afterwards. They're like, that was crazy. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I gotta go. And Tyler commented on my post just yesterday, and that's what made me remember it. He's like, I still owe you a beer. I'm like, yeah, you do owe me a beer.
I saved your life, motherfucker. That's hilarious. Dude, that's nuts, bro. I remember when I first heard that, I was just like...
What's the biggest oopsie that's ever happened at Gatorland? Your stepdad?
And that's one of them.
That's one of them, I would
That's one
say.
of them. This was before a lot of our time, but you probably remember this. Remember how we couldn't wear our hat when we caught the alligator for the wrestling show?
Yeah.
Because of someone apparently didn't see a gator coming because of the brim and it got him like up here somewhere. That was supposedly a reason why we can't wear the hat while we grab the gator in the water, but you can put it back on once you're on the gator because the brim kind of like, if it's down
Limits
too
your
low,
vision.
limits your vision. So if a gator like happened to lunge from a little bit further back, you might not see him. So I guess that's what happened to someone. I don't know who it was or anything, but I guess it got him somewhere up here. Like, because that was the whole question. Like, has anyone ever been bit in the face? That was like why that story got told, from what I remember. So like maybe that, and maybe my stepdad.
What happened with your stepdad? Tell that story.
So Chester.
I'm surprised his ass is still alive.
So he
remember-
supposedly might be not that old. He
I
might be in his
remember
30s.
seeing Chester when I was in like elementary school. We took a field trip there, and Chester was big as fuck back then.
Yeah, he's still kicking it.
I mean, alligators get old, man. They're
Yeah,
like dinosaurs.
they can live 70, 80 years old. But yeah, no, they used to do this thing called a hand pop, where they would open the mouth, obviously, and you'd stick your hand in, and on the way out, you graze it, and it causes the jaws to slam shut, you know? So they could do the trick then. And they were teaching, only a few people could do it. They were like, my stepdad, it was his turn to learn. And he goes to do it. And it was Mike, our boss, he like demonstrated. And then Kenny went to go do it. And it just immediately, and just all three, I think all four of them were in there, all four fingers.
Jeez.
And, I think it broke his knuckle or something. It honestly could have gone a lot worse. I mean,
yeah.
he made it out great. Had to get some stitches, like a couple holes. I mean, the fingers were pretty fucked for a little bit, but full mobility. But anyway, so ever since then, they were like, nope. So
Especially because it got on YouTube.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. So it was
Is it
filmed.
still on YouTube?
Oh yeah. Against their wishes, someone who used to be a part of the organization released it anyway.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean he's long gone.
Gatorland's a Zapruder film.
Yeah, so I know. So it's out there, and then of course that's when all the network shows found it. Animal Planets, like the When Beasts Attack.
Oh no.
They got a hold of it.
Yeah, but wouldn't that make people going to Gatorland probably go up?
It
Everyone's like, I
probably
want to see
did.
someone
I mean,
get bit.
It got my stepdad on the game show Duel. They had a limited run on I don't know if I ever told you that.
No.
Yeah, but because of all this stuff that started happening, he was able to apply for their game show Duel, and him and his dad, or no, that was when they were doing the race around the world.
Amazing Race.
Amazing Race.
Race.
That they tried that, but no, he auditioned for this limited run show called Duel. And it was a game show, and like we always make fun of him because he got to like the final like 5, and it was like the Listerine question he got wrong. But anyway, so it was after all that shit with the clip, and like so I think they liked it. Maybe they went with it because they had to get permission to do all that. So I don't know. Maybe it did bring numbers. It would have made me go if I was just the average guest and I lived close by. I'm like, damn, that happened at Gatorland. Let's go.
Let's go see that in person.
Right? Let's go see that bitch.
People
That's
love
crazy.
seeing
So
that
now we
sort of
can't
stuff.
do it with our hand. You can make him smack his jaws with a stick or with your hat or something. So that's the way they do it now.
Interesting. Well, here, let's take a break real quick.
Sure.
And then I want to get more into all this Africa business.
Heck yeah.
Well, where were we at just now before we came back in? You were saying see yourself when you...
3 possible options.
Yeah, so the 3 possible. I mean, I'm sure there's infinite number of actual possible options, but the 3 most likely scenarios that I see myself getting in, going back to South Africa, would be 1, a complete. Wouldn't call it a failure because I know I'm still going to enjoy myself and learn something new and do all that. But not finding a job, not finding a flying job, not finding a guiding job because being international, it's harder. And then not having extensive experience guiding and having low hours as a pilot, it's going to be a struggle to find somebody that's willing to take me on.
Right.
I have to sell myself to do that. So the first scenario is I'm back in 3 months because my travel visa's up. I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I think it might be better just to come back, regroup, try something else, and maybe go back when I have more experience and do it again that way. So that would be the first one. The second one would be I do get a job, whether it's guiding or flying, and then I probably see myself, depending on the job, staying anywhere between 1.5 to 3 years, doing it that way before I have experience and I want to move back and try something new, because I'm like, what I want to do right now is I want to be a bush pilot in Africa. What I'm going to want to do 2 years from now,
Who knows?
I don't know. But right now, that's what I want to do. So that's what I'm going for. And then the third option would be I do get a job. I kind of make connections, get that experience that I need, and then start something on my own, like a private guiding and flying safari business where I own my own airplanes, or I partner with somebody who has an airplane, and we fly into remote airstrips, out in the middle of the bush, complete wild. Park the plane, put some thorn bushes around the tires so that the lions and the hyenas don't gnaw on it and pop our tires while we're out walking.
Right.
And then do a walking safari, pull the rifle out of the bag, go do a walking safari, camp for the night.
Waivers are needed for this one,
yeah,
folks.
for sure. And then, fly out the next morning to a whole new location and a whole new ecosystem, because within South Africa itself, it has 14 different biomes within the country. So like if you're on the east coast of South Africa, you'll see different animals than if you were on the west coast of South Africa.
Don't you have penguins down there too?
Penguins, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And then if you go up in the mountains, if you go into the Lowveld, which is where I did all of my training, there's even different species of zebra, or zebra, as they say. Zebra, yeah. And I went there saying zebra, and they're like, you're wrong. And I'm like, it's always been zebra. And they're like, it's our animal. We get to decide what it's called. And that's fair.
Hey, all right.
It's a zebra.
Checkmate.
Okay. So, I mean, if I could establish something like that down there, though, my own company or a company that I have invested interest in, I could see myself staying down there indefinitely. So those are the three possible options that I see. But then again, I'll take anything that comes my way.
Right.
How long were you there 2 years ago? How long did you stay?
So I stayed for a little over 6 months. And that was part of the whole training that I was doing. It's a very immersive course where pretty much every day, 6 days a week, we would wake up in the morning before the sunrise, go out on a game drive on the reserve, and do hands-on training where we had instructors that have, well-experienced guides. They've been in the industry for a long time, and they would basically tell us, just a pool of information of all these different animals, and just taking it all in, but also being able to experience it at the same time. And then we would come back and we'd either relax, there was a pool, we would do our studying, and then we would have a PowerPoint lesson in the afternoon that we would do, and then we go out on game drive that evening too. So like 2 drives a day, and then on the weekends we would have like an optional drive, or you can just like chill, relax, study, do whatever. We always take our test Saturday morning, and the rest of Saturday and Sunday we would have off, and we could go do whatever we want. And then every 3rd week we had an off week. Or every 4th week we had an off week, and we would go into Kruger National Park, go to the beach, do something like that, and made some really good friends down there. But because I did have problems with my visa then, a lot of people after the 6 months, they kind of got like an internship because they had a study visa. So they would go work for a lodge or a conservation company for another 6 months on that visa and be able to kind of build their resume,
right,
get that experience. But because I had problems with my visa, I wasn't able to do that. I just had to come back.
So you probably could have been there for a year.
I could have.
Had it not been an issue.
If it wasn't for freaking bureaucracy, man, because it was a whole bunch of BS. I had everything that I needed to have, all my paperwork. But the problem came with my FBI background check.
What?
So, and it was a clear background check, but they require an FBI background check. And the route that my buddy Derek, who's on the course, he was the only other American on the course. He went through a third party who got it done, got it expedited. His was fine. I did it directly through the FBI.
It took forever.
I sent all my information in this, manila folder, sent it off to him. And then I finally got it back, got it. And to apply for a visa, you can't even apply it by mail. you have to go in person. So I had to fly to Washington, D.C., which is the closest embassy.
Jesus.
And apply for this visa. But I got denied my visa because the background check that I had didn't have the specific watermark that supposedly it was supposed to have on it. I'm like, I got this directly from the FBI. Like, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do here. I called the FBI about it. Like, I called their headquarters.
Hello, FBI?
This is hilarious.
Is this the FBI?
I need to speak to the watermark man.
And listen, there was a building at the in Washington, D.C. that was one of the FBI headquarters buildings.
Building?
And I tried to walk in there. Be like, let me talk to your manager.
Hey, calm down, Linda.
No, so I called them, and I'm like, I'm having problems. I'm trying to apply for this visa. I got my background check through you guys, but they're saying that it doesn't have this mark. Like, did you send me the original? Did I get a copy? What is this? They're like, are you applying for a South African visa? I'm like, yes. And they're like, oh yeah, this is a known issue. We're trying to work with their government because we've recently switched. We don't use that watermark anymore. And I'm like, so can you send me one that still does, or can I pick it up? Can I do it? And they're like, no, we don't do that at all. I'm like, well, where does that leave me? And they're like, well, we don't know what to tell you. You can ask them. So I went back and I talked to the same guy. I'm like, listen, I talked to them on the phone. They said this and that. They're in contact. The guy wasn't having any of it. I even went to Capitol Hill and went to find my congressman to see if he could help me.
Oh my God.
So because I'm a constituent. This is part of his job. He's supposed to help me out.
Right.
Problem was that he had just fucking lost his election and he was on the way out.
Who was that? Yoho?
I wish I could tell you who it was, but I went to his office. I talked to his assistant, and I'm like, I'm from Apopka, Florida. I'm a constituent of, Congressman so-and-so. I'm having problems with my visa. I'm here applying for the visa. And they basically said, sorry, he lost his election, and we're just kind of moving everything out. We can't help you.
He's doing coke in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. He's literally drunk.
And I'm like, so you can't help me at all? Like, I understand you're on your way out, but isn't it still your civic duty or something?
Yeah,
like
aren't
that?
you still
aren't you still serving to me technically?
I just lost, buddy. I got bigger problems than your stupid visa.
And no, I got a business card and a pat on the back. And
sounds like a personal problem, dude.
Yeah,
Head on out.
Sounds like Washington.
Yeah, sounds like Washington. Jesus.
So I had to go on a tourist visa, which is good for 3 months. And then while I was there, I applied for an extension on my tourist visa, which was a headache in itself. But I got that done. One of the stipulations was that I couldn't apply for any other extended stay or visas while I was on this extended tourist visa. So I had to come back.
Over a watermark.
Stupid watermark on the back of my crystal clean FBI record.
What a load of shit, man.
Here's the thing. Get down there, get engaged to a girl, end up on 90 Day Fiancé.
My parents watch that.
My wife and I indulge. Typically, it goes the other way around. That's fucked. So there's no job or anything through the school that they didn't guarantee you, oh, come work here once you pass your course.
So they have extensive alumni. They go through another course of students every 6 months. And they're a great organization. Everything was really organized. They were on top of all the paperwork. They tried to help me out as much as they could with the visa. But it's just right now, it's the industry in South Africa and the problems getting a work visa, because there's a lot of anti-immigration. I wouldn't necessarily say rhetoric. I'm sure it probably is an issue to a large extent, especially from the neighboring African countries of people coming there, getting work. The locals don't have jobs. They're blaming them.
Sounds like similar issues all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. In order for me to get a working visa, I have to either be in part of a specific field. They have a list, like bioengineers or, doctors, essential people that they want in their country working on these certain jobs. Everything else, though, they only want South Africans. So in order for me to get hired in South Africa, the employer that's hiring me has to be able to prove that they tried to fill a South African for the position that I'm getting, and that they were not able to successfully fill it. So for me, the two kind of like things that I have going for me that would set me apart from just a South African coming in with almost the same qualifications, that I speak Portuguese. So being able, not too many South Africans speak Portuguese. They do have quite a few tourists that will come down from Portugal or Brazil. So that would be something that they'd be able to do. But at that point, is it really a necessity, or is that just going to be the way that they're going to be able to vouch for me and get me in?
Right.
I'm still going to have to sell myself. That's not going to be the selling point. And then also having the my FAGASA certificate, which stands for Field Guides Association of South Africa, having that as well as all my pilot's license and things like that was kind of going to help me like get past that hurdle if I can. But I have a couple of friends that did do the internship. They were down there for a while. They were working, and even they are having problems with their visa, so it's difficult. But that's why I'm also not set in stone to South Africa, because it might be easier for me to get a job in Botswana or something like that. So just kind of keeping all those options open.
Gotcha.
Now, have you been to any neighboring countries or just South Africa?
Just South Africa. When I went there, I bought a ticket to Zimbabwe, so I could show them that I had a return ticket, which they didn't even check. So next time I'm not going to do it. I'm coming in on a one way ticket,
Right, and just hope for the best this time.
And I'll probably say it's like, no, I was planning on renting a car and driving to Mozambique or whatever. And they'll say okay. So I haven't been to any of the neighboring countries. I would like to. Like I said, there's different animals even within South Africa. So within different countries, that'd be cool too.
Now, South Africa, from what I understand, there's parts, like I would assume Johannesburg is very Americanized, like it looks like a city like L.A. or...
Yeah. And that's something a lot of people don't give credit to. I mean, there's a lot of...
and there's suburbs, like it's pretty relatively what we consider normal over there.
Yeah. The only issue is that in those places that's most closely resemble the U.S. and what we're used to, it's 90+% white people. And in the South African, they still hold most of the money. So in the places with a lot of the black people that are native to South Africa and all that, it's harder to find those suburbs and those high schools that are kind of similar to U.S. high schools and all this and that. But yeah, if you go to Cape Town is a great city to visit. They've got a great food scene, a great music scene, awesome beaches, colleges, all that. Like it's just a cool town to visit. But then you drive 2 hours to the east and you probably don't want to get out of your car.
Get your shit took.
Or even within Cape Town itself. Cape Town, if you're going to there are some dangerous parts of Cape Town. Like I have some friends that are from there. They're like, if you're going, like, make sure you know where you're going and make sure that you're driving through the right places, because there's some serious shit going on that you do not want to even drive by or get mixed up in. So,
God damn.
What worries you more, the people or the animals, as far as danger goes?
People. Yeah, I mean, the animals I have, if you respect the space between you and your animals and you respect the fact that it's a wild animal and you can keep your distance, you'll probably be fine.
Right. Right.
As long as you're sleeping indoors. So there was a story about this girl that was not staying at our camp that I was at there, but literally right across the street, who got killed by a leopard while she was sleeping because it was a hot night. She decided she wanted to sleep outside.
In a tent or?
On her roof.
Oh, on a roof.
So it was like underneath the stars on the roof, and a leopard came that night and killed her.
Jesus.
So that's why when you sleep indoors, or if you are doing a camp out, you take shifts as lookout. So like,
everyone can't all be asleep.
I wouldn't sleep. That doesn't sound fun.
Oh no, it's so fun, man. We had a close encounter with lions one night, where we were out camping in the bush, and we had like 4 Land Rovers, like 4x4, low range, awesome vehicles, get you anywhere. But we had them all facing out, and we had spotlights. So pretty much like every, minute or 2 minutes, you turn the spotlight on, you do a quick scan, you turn it off again. And you're just up, you're, just hanging out. And we would take shifts about an hour. And then you'd wake up the person that's going to relieve you. You get to sleep. They're on their watch. But one night we were doing that. I'm sleeping in my hammock, and it was a cold night. So I'm in my hammock with my sleeping bag zipped all the way up to my neck. And
just your head poking
so I'm
out.
Basically like a burrito just laying there. And then all of a sudden, I hear Trevor, who's one of the head instructors, he yells, "Lion, everybody up!" And I'm like, trying to unzip my sleeping bag, kicking out of the hammock, and I look over and they have the spotlight on the pride of lions. There's like 5 lions, probably like 25, 30 yards away.
Females or any males?
They were all females.
All female, because they do the hunting, don't they?
I mean, males will do hunting too. That's something that...
Is that like a... Right, okay.
People get that wrong all the time. They're like, oh, the males don't even do any of the hunting. Yes, they do. They do the hunting with the females most of the time, and a lot of times the younger males, they don't have a pride. They might have another young male that they like work together, but a lot of times they're hunting by themselves. They have to feed themselves.
Right.
But anyways, it's a bunch of females, and I fall out of my hammock, dude, like with one foot out, and we all jump back in the vehicle because that's like the safest place to be. They have the rifles ready to go. We just keep the spotlight on them. And one of them goes over to where our toilet is. So we had a toilet set up with a little tarp. She takes the tarp down and just trots off with it. She tears it down and
takes it.
She takes it and just goes off. And it wasn't until the next morning when like it's finally light out that we go searching for the tarp, and then we find it just a little bit further off there.
Spit that shit out real quick.
The rest of the night you could just hear them. And I'm like, oh my Lord, I don't know how I'm gonna sleep too well anymore. I was sleeping fine until
fucking 6 lions showed up.
I was wrapped up beautifully for him. I was just hanging there like dried meat.
They literally were looking at you
great.
Like, oh, human burrito.
Is that the closest call you had, or what are some other ones?
I've had a closer one.
Yeah, let's hear that one.
So I even have a picture of this. I posted the picture just yesterday on Facebook with the lion.
Yeah, I saw that photo.
So the story behind that is, so like on these Land Rovers, there's, it's kind of like stadium seating. They have like 3 rows of seats so that you have a good vantage point all around. But then also in the front of the vehicle, there's like a little seat that folds up. They call it the tracker seat. So you sit in the tracker seat because you can look for tracks before you drive over them. You're looking out for animals. That you also have the spotlight up there. So if you're going at night, you can see them on the spotlight. So I'm there, and then all of a sudden we see a lion. We're kind of in the open. We see a lion coming out from the tree line, and we're like, "Oh, there's a lion. Let's go get it.
Let's go check it."
On the front of the car. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go get it.
Like, fuck, all right, here we go. I guess that's why I'm here.
So we don't go straight to the lion. We kind of see the path that he's going, and we kind of go to almost intercept him so we can get a closer look. We turn off the vehicle so it's quiet. Everybody's quiet, has their cameras out as this lion starts like walking towards us. And walking right towards us, as it come to find out. Directly at us. And, when it was like 30 yards away, I'm getting a little nervous, but I'm thinking to myself, if he charges me right now, I think I can scramble up the hood of the car, get in the back, and be safe. So we're still good. I'm a little nervous, but I'm still comfortable. And then it gets closer to the point where it's like 7, 8 yards away. And I'm like, yeah, if he charges me, I'm a dead man. I'm like, this is a hell of a way to go, but let's do it. Dude, my heart's beating out of my chest. I'm trying not to move.
Are they telling you to like not move? What are they telling you?
Well, my
instructors.
Really, we weren't supposed to be on the front if there is dangerous game because we were still technically students. But
so they were just being cool ass teachers.
But Vaughn's cool as fuck, man. Shout out to Vaughn.
Yeah, shout out to fucking
shout
Vaughn.
Out to Vaughn, bro.
No, he was really cool. He went on some of our off weeks with us. Just a super chill dude, super knowledgeable about the push, has a passion about it. But he's like, I'm not gonna come back. We got to go see the lion. So he did say, hey, Whalen, when you're up there, he's like, just don't move. He's like, and the golden rule in the bush, don't run. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. So I'm sitting like a freaking statue, man. And my heart's beating out of my chest as this lion slowly walks past, looks up at us. And they say that the safest place to be is in the game viewer, because it kind of detaches them from you being a human, which I can say is true, because you can get right up to a lion where the point where they will lay in the shade of your vehicle and not even bother. But if you're on a walking safari and you're walking up to a lion, as soon as they see you and you're just standing up and you're standing there, they're on high alert, man. And they'll either fuck off or they'll start getting defensive or start getting aggressive.
Because at that point, they're like, that's a creature.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't completely buy it, because numerous times I've been sitting in this game viewer and these lions look up at you and they make eye contact with you.
Oh,
they stare into your soul, and you're like, it knows I'm here. It knows that I'm another animal. It just doesn't want to bother. Like they're so used to it at the point that they know we don't hurt them. They also know we don't give them food. So we're just kind of a nothing, So it makes eye contact with me as it's walking by. Only me and the washing machine are going to know how scared I really was that night.
So if they don't know, if they see you, they don't bother you because you don't give them food, and you don't, they know they don't hurt you. Then why wouldn't they immediately try and go after people sometimes? Because they go take things that are bigger than us.
I mean, they do.
We look like easy pickings.
Yeah. Lions, I'll say, they're very specialized hunters. So from one lion to another, like there was one lion on the reserve that we all knew. He was a solo older male who specialized in hunting warthogs. So he was by himself. A warthog is plenty of a meal for just one lion, not enough for a whole pride.
Just out doing his own thing?
Just doing his own thing,
Whoa.
And he specialized in warthogs. So, and you'll find the same thing from region to region, where this group of lions specialize in hunting giraffe, which is one of the hardest preys to get down because they're so big and they're so powerful, even though they're not,
Yeah, Tony Baker has a video of a fucking giraffe plowing through a lion that was trying to get him.
Dude,
Straight kicked him in the air.
It happens, but like there are lions that will specialize in buffalo, specialize in giraffe, and there are some that are in such a good spot they can kind of get whatever they want, and that's one thing. But humans aren't really on the list. Now, there have been stories like they were working on a railroad in Africa somewhere. I forget what it was, but there was a pride of man-eating lions. It was like a coalition of like 3 males that they found out that it was a good meal, and so
they're like, "Oh, we want that again."
They picked their opportunities and they freaking hunted people while they were building this railroad. They ended up shooting the lions eventually. But like that's the thing. They don't really see us as a food source. And the game viewer, we're so much bigger than they are. We're not influencing them at all. They have other food sources. They're not starving, so they're not really going after us. Now, if you sneak up on a lion and you're walking and you turn a corner and there's a lion there, you're in trouble. But if you're in the viewer, I mean, I won't say you're completely safe, because your chances are better. Your chances are better, but they say the animals, they don't read the same books we do. So you might have read all this stuff about, like, for example, black rhinos. Black rhinos, they're browsers. So they don't eat grass. They eat trees and shrubbery and things like that. Whereas white rhino, they pretty much just eat grass.
Right.
But one day we saw a black rhino eating elephant dung, which none of us had ever heard of. Even Vaughn, my instructor at the time, he's like trying to get pictures. He's like, I've never heard of this, never seen this before. But I'm guessing because elephants, they just eat so much.
He was getting his
they're
like
pooping constantly. And so a lot of other animals, because they're not ruminants, whereas like impala, giraffe, even cows, by the time they poop, most of the nutrients is completely gone because it's gone through their 4 stomachs.
Right.
By the time it finally extracts all the nutrients and they poop it out. Whereas elephants, they just eat tons and tons of food, literally, and then poop it out. And you'll find like marula fruit. It's like a little fruit, kind of like the shape of a lime. It's delicious. It's a superfood.
Do you eat it out of elephant dung? Is it special that way?
No, but you can. If you see elephant dung, you'll see a whole fruit.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
They
like
just pass it through, huh?
Yeah, monkeys will come by. They'll take that. They'll eat that.
Hell yeah.
Dung beetles live off of it. And so we saw this black rhino eating this elephant dung. It's like just something completely unexpected, unheard of. We might not have been the first people to see it, but I've definitely never heard of anything happening in the past. So anything can happen with wild animals, and that's important to keep in mind.
Right.
Like, anything can happen.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I would love to go out there and see those Nile crocodiles take down some animals in the actual river. You know, those videos are amazing. Battle at the whatever river. You remember that one? But
That's a famous one.
yeah, have you seen any Nile crocodiles out there?
Oh, yeah. You see Nile crocodiles for sure. And that's one thing that I was probably most scared of was the crocodiles.
Because we're on the menu for them.
We are,
We're on the menu.
They would see us as prey. They are opportunistic. They do not discriminate. If you walk up to a crocodile, it's gonna eat you.
God.
So that's what I was worried about. But like we would drive in Kruger National Park, for example, there's this one bridge. They call it Crocodile Bridge because underneath there's like a couple of sandbars that at any given point during the day or
There's
night,
one
you
basking.
can go up. There's like 12 basking.
Jesus.
Like just Nile crocodiles. And I saw some massive ones out in the distance and all that. But
do they tell you not to go near the water?
most water, yes.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, you don't
Because
really,
of that hazard, probably, huh?
You don't want to just jump into the water. You don't. It's like Florida. You have to kind of assume every body of water is going to have a crocodile in it, except maybe your pool that's clean enough that you can see into it.
Right.
But even then, but yeah, they're everywhere, man. They're scary. Crocodiles are a scary animal.
God, that's so awesome. That is so awesome.
I don't know where I am right now.
We just feel like got an audio book on National Geographic is what just happened. I'm trying to think of another thing that I wanted to know if you've seen. Have you seen any black mambas?
I saw one black mamba.
God, how was that?
It was only for a second.
Was he big? Because I think he's like 8 feet long, bro.
Yeah, he was probably about like 5 or 6 feet. When I saw
God,
this
that's
black mamba.
we see black racers all the time here. We don't see them that big.
I saw almost like a 4.5 foot long black
That's
racer.
pretty
they get
big.
to
That's
like
pretty
3 to
big.
4.
But when you see a 6 foot snake, that's big, man.
Especially one that will kill you in an instant. But I will
That's what I'm
say,
saying.
if I'm going to die from a snake bite, I want it to be a black mamba.
Is
Really?
it just like that?
Well, for a couple of reasons. One, because that's dope as fuck. Okay?
How did Whalen die? Dude, black mamba
Black
bite
mamba got
happened
him.
while he was flying, snuck into the plane,
It
and
this ain't
bit
Kobe
him on
Bryant.
the neck.
This ain't Kobe Bryant. This is a real one. I mean, he is a real one. But anyway.
Yeah, he's a real one too. But
So a couple of reasons for that. One, they're really cool, and it's a crazy story. But they have a neurotoxic venom. Mm-hmm. So I've heard stories, and we learned about if you get bit by a black mamba, basically your entire central nervous system starts shutting
right.
down.
So rather than eat your flesh, it kills you internally.
Right, you pretty much get complete paralysis. You can't feel anything. You can't move until your heart stops.
Right.
Sounds like a dope high.
Yeah, for real. But there's
I'm faded, dude.
But that would probably be one of the most least painful snake bites to die from. Whereas if you
Fair.
get bit by a puff adder, which is a cytotoxic venom, it eats at your flesh until the infection gets in your blood and spreads throughout your body, and you die that way.
No thanks.
And then there's also hemotoxic venom,
Which is what our rattlesnakes here have.
which is basically it infects the blood, and the
Right.
blood starts to coagulate, and to a point where there's a snake called the boomslang.
Boomslang, dude,
in
those are
South Africa.
badass looking.
They have they have rear hinged fangs, so all the way in the back. They're not known to bite, but there's no known anti-venom.
Yeah, so you're dead.
And PSA, I just want to say it's anti-venom, not anti-venom. Okay?
Anti-venom.
Everybody says anti-venom, even on Animal Planet. It's not anti-venom, it's anti-venom.
Yeah, no,
Why?
I hate
don't know.
poisonous snakes.
I'm just saying, anti-venom. So, but the only
Venomous snakes.
possible cure you have for that is you go to a hospital that has like blood transfusions, and you just get constant blood transfusions for
Until
months
it's
at a
out of
time
you?
until it's completely out
And
of
you
your system.
piss on it.
Or you pee on it.
I've heard that.
2 ways to do it.
Good God, bro.
No, but
That's-
I heard a story about this guy who got bit by a black mamba because he was a snake keeper. And on his way out of his snake room, one of the black mambas got him from behind. He
Where the hell was this black mamba just chilling in the room?
well, it was like a super large enclosure.
Oh,
like
okay.
where
He
they
was-
have a couple.
I
at.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy, first off.
So he knows he got bit. He makes sure the snake doesn't get out. Closes the door, locks the door, sits down, gets on the radio, and he's like, "Yeah, guys, I just got bit by a black mamba. I'm right here and here, so just come and get me. I'm going to be sitting here." And by the time they got to him, he had pretty much had complete paralysis. He was still aware of what was going on. He was
Couldn't talk?
conscious. Couldn't talk.
Dear
couldn't give any
Lord.
indication that he was responsive. So they called in the helicopter. They medevaced him out.
Time is ticking.
Medevaced him out to a hospital where he got his antivenin, and he was back to work the next day.
What?
That just goes to show you, though, how good that antivenin
The
is, I guess.
antivenin is strong, man. And then plus because if you can just counteract it quickly, unlike with if you get bit by something that has that cytotoxic venom, your arm, even if you get antivenin within days, your arm is going to expand so much the where like it's tearing your skin because it's so swollen.
Right.
And that like you can lose your arm even if you get it in time.
Now, is it a myth
Yeah, I heard.
to suck it out?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not
because it
gonna
gets in
do-
your bloodstream. It's too late.
Yeah, the best thing to do if you get bit by a venomous snake is to just try not to move and try to stay as calm as possible because as soon as you start
That's a tall
Your
order.
heart's going to start
your
pumping.
heart starts
Yeah.
pumping and you're moving the the venom around. So you want to stay, and that's why that guy, he sat down and he said, "I'm going to be
That was a
here.
good call.
Come and get me." So I did learn, and I've heard different things, but what I learned when I was in South Africa is you don't want to do a tourniquet because if you do a tourniquet, they're probably going to lose that limb. Because not only because the tourniquets do that, but also because you're locking all the venom in there. So what they do instead is they will do a tight wrap. Say you get bit on the wrist, you're going to tightly wrap your arm all the way up to your shoulder to kind of like constrict it, to constrict the blood flow, and then you immobilize it.
Right.
And then you try to move as little as possible, and you wait until you can get more help. But that would be what you do if you do get bit by a venomous snake.
Damn, bro. And this is probably something extremely important living in Africa because they have way more venomous snakes than we do. Way more.
And that's true. And that's something that's interesting is that I feel like phobias are very geographically different. So in Africa, if you go to any of the locals, most of them are terrified of snakes because historically in that area, snakes are what kill people. Okay, like whereas in a lot of the United States, you have at least one venomous snake almost everywhere in the United States that can get you and can possibly kill you, but they're not nearly at the number or variety that they have in Africa.
Right.
So what you find here is people are more afraid of spiders or something like that, where you can get the black widow or the brown recluse, which I think historically have caused more damage
Issues, right.
than snakes. Whereas over there, they don't care as much about spiders as they do snakes. So I don't know if that's like a geographical
That's
thing.
interesting.
And don't they have some arachnids over there that can kill you too?
They do.
Probably.
Yeah, they do, but probably about the same amount that we do here.
Okay.
And yeah, as long as you're not flipping over rocks or we have some, and if you're not messing with them, most of the time you're fine.
Yeah.
Like we were doing our spider, we were doing our course on spiders. Like for that day, we were watching the PowerPoint presentation, and for one of the activities, he said, "All right, now everybody flip over your chair and tell me what spiders you see." So the chairs we're sitting on,
No way.
we flip them over. We start inspecting all the spiders underneath it, including like some of the venomous spiders that we were
Wait,
just talking
were your
about.
chairs just that dusty and cobwebby or something?
Well, it was out in the open, so like
Oh, okay.
it was covered, but it was open air.
So some
and we would
spiders
get
probably were
frogs
chilling.
and lizards
Yeah.
and snakes. We had a boomslang. We were at the pool.
Oh, it's so cool.
We were at the pool, all just hanging around. It's a beautiful day. All of a sudden, a frog drops out of the tree and like jumps in the pool, and we're like, "That's weird."
He's running for his fucking life.
What does that frog do? He just fell out of nowhere, and then about 4 seconds later, a boomslang flops out of the tree.
Yo, these snakes are crazy out here.
And goes right into the pool, chasing this frog. And we're like,
Damn.
"Oh, that's where he's running from." And so like we all just give it its distance. The frog like goes underwater and submerges itself, and the snake just ends up fucking off, not being able to get him. But it was like, oh shit. It was right there in that tree the whole time.
Dude, that's so crazy. God.
What is the climate like over there, the temperature and everything? Because when I hear you say you're taking an outdoor course and we just stood out there for 5 minutes, I mean, you're accustomed to Florida heat, but I feel like every summer I'm like, I don't remember it being this hot.
Yeah. So it is, first of all, it's the southern hemisphere. So our summer is their winter is our summer.
Yeah. And it's South Africa, so it's down there.
Pretty far south. So it's not almost ever as humid unless you're like in a swampy area, which I mean, they do have some. It's not really nearly as humid as it is here, but a lot of temperature swings. So like, especially in the winter. In the winter, the mornings are freezing and you're on the game viewer and you're driving out bundled up in all your jackets and beanie until the sun starts coming up and you start shedding your layers and you're like, the sun is beautiful. So yeah, a lot of variance in the temperature, not as humid, and a very definitive dry season versus rainy season as well.
Gotcha.
So like the dry season is actually better for game viewing, like big game, because it's harder for them to hide in the tall grass or all this. Whereas the landscape itself is much more beautiful during the raining season because everything is green, everything is blooming, and everything like
from
that.
The water.
So yeah, you kind of have to take your pick there. If you're there to see Big Five, go in the winter when it's not raining and it hasn't rained in a while, because you just have a better view of things.
Yeah,
yeah, that's when I'd want to go. I'd want to go see everything.
Yeah. See everything, but dude, get out and do a walking safari, look at tracks, look at the bugs and the beetles and everything like that. I mean, it's cool.
How safe is a walking safari, though? I don't know if I would ever want to do that.
It takes training.
How often does something go wrong?
I haven't had anything go wrong. I couldn't tell you any sort of percentage, or I haven't. I've had people that have had scary situations. I don't know anybody that's had a serious injury or death or anything like that.
What do you have with you as far as protection goes?
So we carry a rifle that has to be at least a 375.
Which you got good at assembling, I remember you telling me, and everything, right?
Assembling and shooting. So yeah. I was one of like 5 people out of like the 20 some odd people on our course that passed the advanced rifle handling test, because I mean, you have to reload, unload, blindfolded. You have to shoot targets in a pretty small window of time, and then also they have a mock charging lion, or they have a big target with like an actual size lion that's on a pulley system that pulls it towards you at like 30 miles per hour.
Jeez.
And you have to yell, like, get back, lion, cock your gun, aim, and fire before it gets to you and hit it in the kill zone, which is about...
That's sick.
For those of you listening at home, about the size of a tiny Nerf ball, like what you play with your little cousin with. So, I mean, the kill zone for almost any animal is you look at its 2 eyes and you look at its 2 ears and you draw an X between the opposite ones. And right there is where you want to be shooting. So you got a tiny little target that big and a 30 mile per hour charging lion. That is the hardest part about it.
Wow.
But that's also probably the most realistic part about it.
Right. I was going to say, if there's any time you need to learn how to do this shit, that's probably it.
But the most important thing is just awareness of where you are, where the animals are, and keeping your distance. Staying downwind. Like, if you're tracking lions, you're not going to try to get close to the lions. You're going to see them from a distance. Be like, look, we saw the lions. We were tracking lions one time where there's this lone male. We found his tracks. We were tracking him early in the morning. And then we, walk around this bush and all of a sudden we hear growling. And everybody freezes. You don't run. Sometimes it's best to everybody stand up and get in a group to look bigger. Sometimes it's best for everybody to sit down to look not intimidating. Just depends on the situation.
Good Lord.
But luckily, this lion, he saw us. He made a little bit of a fuss with the noise, and he ran off, which is pretty normal. And then also, it's just like knowing the animal. So on these walking safaris, like one of the best ways to get close to elephants is to see them in the distance, know where they're going, beat them there, and hide. And so, like, we knew they were going to this watering hole, this dam, and so we were going to go ahead and cut across. There was, like, a bunch of trees on this little hill, and so we all huddled in behind these bushes, sat completely quietly, and were able to watch these elephants in their natural habitat.
That would have been dope.
Playing in the water, which is really cool. But you do have a rifle. And then just knowing animal behavior, man. I mean, they give you tells. If they don't want you around, they'll tell you they don't want you around. Like knowing elephants.
I've seen videos of big bull male elephants when they don't want you around. It's scary.
Dude, a buddy.
Ears flap out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My friend Derek, he was my roommate, the other American on the course. Love you, Derek. Shout out to Derek. Dirk Dangus.
Dangus.
But I saw he posted a video that he was leading a trails walk, and a big bull elephant kind of came out of nowhere. He stood his ground. Elephant made a fuss and did a mock charge at him. Woo. So literally ran up to him, blowing his horn, and then stops and is looking big and intimidating.
Dude, like, don't fuck with me. I will. Right.
And he's standing there calm, and he just starts talking to the elephant, man. He's like, don't you do it. Easy. And like he has his gun and he's about to cock his gun and he starts knocking on his gun too, because it's kind of an unusual sound, kind of makes the elephant a little skeptical.
Right.
Then it mock charged him again, and then same thing. When it mock charged him the second time, he'd loaded up, and then finally the elephant starts slowly backing up and then ends up going away. I'm like, dude,
can you outrun an elephant?
Balls of steel. You cannot outrun an elephant.
Okay, because I didn't know how fast that beast could move.
You know what you do? Zigzags.
Nah, dude, you just trip your friend and walk, bro.
No, we were charged by an elephant. I was with my family in Kruger National Park. We rented a van, and because Kruger's great because you can just drive through it. You don't have to be a certified guide or anything. It's like a national park. As long as you stay on the roads, don't get out of your car, don't interact with the wildlife. It's awesome. And it's one of the most beautiful national parks in the world.
The only risk is a big animal like that knocking you over.
Like an elephant charging at you. And I was really able to impress my family with my reversing skills.
Nice. Did anyone film that?
I think my dad had a video of it. But dude, he was like a young bull. And like in hindsight, I probably could have stood my ground and been a little bit safer in the vehicle. I could have probably knocked on my car, again, making that unusual sound to make him second guess. Because normally the younger bulls especially, they're just kind of trying to see what they can get away with.
Right.
You know, they're really going to charge you, but they're putting on a show. But then as soon as you start running away or backing up, he's like, got him on the run. I'm going to show this guy who's boss. And starts chasing after you. So, I mean, there were cars behind us because everybody was stopped because the elephants were crossing the road, and it starts coming. I'm here reversing, looking back until like he finally starts slowing down, and I start stopping. And my mom's like, "You're good at reversing." I'm like, yeah.
You're good at reversing. That's hilarious. Man, I tell you what, after you just described that walking safari, dude, no one would be able to handle that. From here in the States, our modern generation be out there like, let's get a picture with this. And like, you got to be paying attention. And like, meanwhile, lions creeping up behind you or something. Cause like you said, you can't like not have eyes on your surroundings.
Yeah.
Like you got to be like fully in the moment.
But dude, even like small tips to keep you safe. So like, for example, if you're walking on like a trail or on a road, you always say the road bends to the right. You want to be on the left side of that road as it bends to the right. So you can see just
what's
a second sooner
of
what's
what it
around
could be.
that corner.
Right.
And, I mean, it's small stuff like that and just being aware and keeping your composure that will keep you safe
right,
out there.
because like if you're coming wide, you see something, you can be like, oh shit, stop.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then, right, instead of coming tight and then it's like too late, you know, then they see you clear.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And then worst case scenario is you have to shoot the animal. Because I mean...
Your buddy, I guess that's what I was going to ask. He was cocking his gun. I guess it's because he can't outrun that thing.
Can't outrun that, and you have guests behind you. Like, you're not just responsible for your own life. You're responsible for the people who have trusted you there.
Right.
And so, especially like with elephants, you kind of draw a line in the sand. You make a mental line in the sand because elephants do mock charge often. So you don't want to shoot an elephant that wasn't going to do anything. So you have to draw an imaginary line in the sand that says if it charges and it gets past that line, I'm going to have to shoot it.
Damn.
So, like, you have to keep your composure, and you have to do that. But I mean, nobody wants to do that. Everybody that's out there guiding,
no one wants to like have a day where they have to kill one of these things.
It'd be a terrible day, man. I mean, they're magnificent animals, and you are in their home, and you just kind of most of the time you put yourself in that position, and now the elephant has to pay the price for it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's yourself and the people that you're with versus the elephant. So.
Damn, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. Man, that's danger. I tell you what, if you're still out there, a few years from now, I want to come out and do one of these.
Hell yeah, dude.
I would definitely do it. I think I would do it for sure. Oh yeah, I think I would
And
do it.
listen, you don't have to go for the big game. Like, you don't have to track lions if you don't
I
want
want to.
Okay, then
I want to go all in or go home. I mean, dude, look at the gators. They'll just do the damn thing.
But listen,
give me the
giraffes-
apex.
Giraffes are awesome too, man.
Oh, I like giraffes. Yeah,
Like being standing on the ground close to a giraffe, and you can appreciate like just the size and how like humongous they are and magnificent. You know, it kind of takes your breath away for a second, and you know, puts you in a place of realization of like, these things are just massive, graceful creatures. And so like giraffes are one of my favorite animals to see on foot because I'm not scared, still, because there might be a lion hunting that giraffe, so I have to be a little scared.
exactly. Like, they could be tracking you, buddy. So I got to keep an eye out here.
But dude, just like being fully immersed out there, it's great. I love it.
Wrapping up, what does your family think about this?
My family knows they're not going to stop me. So
Fair.
Yeah. So like, my mom hates that I want to go somewhere so far away.
Yeah.
But that's what I want to do. And kind of whenever I put my mind to it, she's learned that, well, stay safe. Don't do anything stupid. Try to come back when you can. But they all like it because I kind of get them to travel because of me. So like multiple times I've gone somewhere, stayed there for an extended period of time, and they want to come visit me. I'm like, come on over.
Yeah.
So we all get to kind of experience it for like a week together, and that's really cool. But yeah, I mean, they support me. They know that I put my mind to it. I've thought things through. I'm not just
Yeah, no, I think they should definitely see that in you, that, you know, you're not just making willy-nilly decisions.
Yeah.
Like, I'm packing all my shit and leaving in a week, guys.
I mean,
Don't know what I'm
that's
gonna
what
do.
I am doing.
Well, I guess you're kind of right.
There's something incredibly admirable, I think, in what you're doing. It's awesome. I'm so grateful you came in to talk to us. First guest. I think it was a great one. This is one I really want people to listen to.
Yeah.
I'm glad I can be, groundbreaking. First guest, man.
Dude, this is groundbreaking, and it was good.
I'm going to, once you guys are big, there's going to be a couple of weirdos that start with the very first episode of this podcast, and I'm going to be listened to at least 100 times. I'm confident. There's going to be 100 people that are going to listen to this, and to those 100 people, I love you.
I love you. Yo, you listened to the Africa episode when they first started? Bro, that thing was good.
What's your social media?
You can find me on Instagram. I'm not as
Do you really care?
up to date. No, I mean, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on public at Stephen Whalen 1.
Stephen Whalen
We'll
1.
post
yeah.
it. We'll put it in the
post
thing.
it. I spell my name with a PH. The right way. Thank you. Yeah. But it's funny because my brother's name is Jared, and he spells it Jaarod.
No, it's wrong.
Don't even get me started with people how they spell my name. That's wrong. Z-A-C-K.
But yeah, you can follow me if you want, and then maybe we'll get something going with my
I'd-
videos and your editing, man.
I'd love to. Is there anything you want to plug or no?
Anything you want to say before you go?
No pressure.
Yeah, no. Follow your dreams.
I like that.
I like that too.
Amen.
Amen.
All right.
Now let's break
This whole thing was a prayer the whole time.
Now let's break this bread, bitch.
No, thanks for having me on.
All right.
guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
man.
for sure.